I remember when I was 12, my parents and I, we took a tour at the Walt Disney Animation Studio in Orlando, and it was wonderful to actually see an animation studio, but however, it was apparent that the secrets that they have was definitely elusive to the outsider. Because here as a tourist, we were behind a plexiglass, so that plexiglass was pretty much like a solid metaphor for like that veil as mystery. But so flashing forward, I still wanted to learn animation, but just it was impossible at the time, because in order to learn, you would have to go to out-of-state university or a private college or even overseas, and it was virtually impossible for me at the time. Earlier last year or so that I started to take animation courses, and I'm telling you, I have seen so many online animation courses, but there was always still that veil of mystery. Flash forward to this year, I came across AMB's YouTube channel, AMB Real Animators Training, and I was blown away. I just couldn't believe, the knowledge that he was putting out there, the lectures that he was doing. It just pretty much ripped that veil of mystery off the face of the earth. And the thing that really sets his archive, his online lectures and stuff apart from everyone else is the basics. That's the one thing that a lot of the books, a lot of the online animation stuff lack, was the extreme basics, And when I started on that archive, I started understanding the spacing, the timing, the arcs, the slow in, the slow out. And with each exercise, it builds up on each other. And as a result, I start seeing, the arcs. I start understanding and timing things in my head. And it was just so fascinating. And because of that, it just helped revive, my lifelong desire of learning animation. And it just made me so happy that I'm able to pursue and to dream of becoming an animator. So thank you.
So, are you going to join the library?
Hello, and welcome once again to another edition of AMB Animation Livestream. Alright, so I'm about ready to do the next lecture series on my professional archive series, but I'm not going to do that today because last week I was so busy that I didn't get to do a YouTube community stream. So I figured today I'm going to be doing the YouTube community stream. We're going to look at some of the work that you've posted in the Facebook group, and I'm going to talk about how to help some of you move forward with the things that you've done there. We're also going to have, we've got 7 people online at the moment, so I don't know if we're going to get many suggestions, but we're going to do the usual animation exploration. So if you have a character that you would like me to Google and just do a on the spot animation of from references, looking at the model sheets or the images that I have from the Google search, I will do that. So please suggest, if you have any suggestions now, which character you would like to see me animate with a small animation as a demonstration in the stream using all of the animation principles that we cover in Real Animator Training. So I'm going to say hello to the people who have made themselves known in the chat at the moment. So welcome you all, and then we'll go and have a look at some of the work and help you guys move forward with. I think Kitchen Cat's going to enjoy it. I'm specifically going to address Cameron. All of this information, it'll be useful to Silver Sun. It's going to be useful to all of you guys. So we've got Cameron, Alan Davidson Black. How are you? Red Fox, good to see you. Constantinos, I hope I said that correctly. Nice to meet you. Why not Tony? Hello. The adorable Kitchen Cat, good to see you. Was the animation, here we go, software. Was the animation software used that made colored line art for the animations called caps? You know what? That's a better question. I read the word software and I was kind of like, oh God, here we go talking about software. But no, that's a good question. To be very honest with you, I may know a lot about hand-drawn animation and traditional animation, but I've always been willfully ignorant about software. I believe it was called cats, but don't quote me on that. I may be totally wrong, because I couldn't care less. You know, as the artist, I was just interested in the drawings and who made the drawings, and that was the job that the monkeys did. So monkeys are beautiful. We need monkeys. I love monkeys, but I don't classify myself or artists as a monkey. I classify human monkeys, software operating people. Hence, there's going to be a lot of monkeys playing around with AI while the real artists do the real work. So awesome question. It's a good question about the history of animation. So please don't think I'm having a stab at you for that. I'm just having a stab at software, because I always do. Silver Sun, awesome. All right, so I'm going to jump over and look at people's work. Now we've got a few more people. We got almost double the amount of people online now. So I'm going to say it. In these community streams, before, what we do throughout the stream is you suggest a character that you would like me to Google, and I'll Google it, and or from the images from Google search, I will make a on-the-spot animation with that character. So it can be any character, preferably a character from a hand-drawn thing, preferably a character that requires some skill, i.e. not this CalArts crap style, or this garbage Family Guy, or some trash that any bloody fool could do anything with. We want to exhibit skill, we want to exhibit excellence. That's what this channel is about. So please bear that in mind when making your suggestions. So if you'd like to see me animate a character, just name the character and I will do it. I will remind you guys again, because we're not doing that now. I'm working hard on my dialogue scene. Awesome. I may post it sometime. Dr. Live Save from that old Russian animation cartoon, hand drawn. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. I'll Google that now before we go into the group and look at work, because I don't know what that is. Dr. Live Save Russian animation. Russian animation of old is actually very good. Images. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know which is the original one. That's an interesting character. That's a very different style, that character. I'll have to do some research on that. I may not be able to do, because there's so many different kinds of images of him. I don't know which is the official one, but I may have to do some research on that. Your point is taken. Constantinus. Interesting. Nice to meet you, sir. All right, so let's go and look at the work in the group. Advice on storyboarding for beginners, essential activities and things you should avoid. I've made an entire course on that, but I'll recap. But at the moment, let me switch over now. We've had 9 minutes of activity, and I will address that question after talking about some of the work that I see in this group. All right, now I'm going to switch my mic. So hopefully you should be hearing me on this mic. Right, now it's a character from the 1980s Treasure Island. Excellent. Right. So now what we have here is we have the Facebook group. Real Animated Growth, Development and Progress. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I did a stream about blind drawing, and I recommended that Cameron do some blind drawing, and he's doing some blind drawing here, and he's He's very good. You're going about it the right way, Cameron. So he's doing this, but I'm going to show you how to move forward, because I feel that there's a disconnect going on in the things that you've learned, Cameron, and this could be a breakthrough stream for you. This could be a breakthrough stream for you in how to tie all this stuff together to break out of a plateau that I think you're in with regards to these drawings. Daniel Garcia, good to see him posting. Daniel Garcia, this could be a... Actually, I think you've already done what I'm going to suggest. So you stick with the blind drawing, sir. So more blind drawings from Cameron. This was awesome from Akau. We've got this from Brittany Goddard. Now, Brittany Goddard isn't on the stream. I hope she shows up, because Brittany Goddard is interesting, because these are some gesture drawings from Brittany Goddard. And though they're not perfect, they show that Brittany Goddard has got more skill than perhaps this drawing of Gracie Goodbear that she's done shows. Now, this is something that happens quite often with people who draw and copy and kind of do portrait art and the kind of typical kind of drawing art where they do photographic copies from photographs. I'm not saying Brittany's done that, but people can often make nice drawings from reference, but when they try to draw a cartoon character from their own imagination, a lot of the things that they've made from the reference drawing kind of goes out the window, and there's a disconnect, and they don't know how to tie these two together, because I would believe that this drawing and these drawings, Brittany, were done by two completely different people. Now, I love the fact that you're drawing Gracie Goodbear. That's my character. And oh, Brittany, you're online. Awesome. So I'm talking to you. It's good to talk to you while you're here. So now it's awesome. I love it when people draw Gracie Goodbear. It puts me in a very good mood, because it shows that people like my characters. But this is something that I believe is not Brittany's not just fallen victim to. A lot of people, I even see people who do great comic book art, when they try to draw cartoon characters and they don't have anatomy references, they're all over the place. So what I'm going to show you today is a technique that I think is going to really help some of you guys move forward, and help you particularly, Cameron, because I know you've got the knowledge, and I know, Cameron, when I see you copying the exercises and doing the 360 head turns and the 360 body turns and the peacock run, that you have the drawing skill, you have the hand-eye coordination. But I believe that there's something that's going to, what I'm suggesting could be a major breakthrough for you to really start moving forward with your gestural drawing and take it to the next level. So let's do that. So that's all I'm going to talk about in today's group, and I'm going to give you a methodology. So first, when we talk about the blind drawing, let me just take a pose. Let me just say ballerina. I love my ballerinas. All right, ballerina, right? Always graceful, always making nice poses. Let me take this ballerina pose, right? Just a random ballerina image. Now I'm going to draw in red hair. I'm going to fatten my brush a little so we can see what's going on. Now I'm going to make a blind drawing, right? So I'm not looking at what I'm doing on the screen. If you look at my head in the corner, you're just seeing me kind of making that blind drawing, right? So that's my blind drawing. So now this is the process which Cameron and Brittany and everybody have been going. This should have been connected. So anyway, never mind. Let's undo it and stick with what I had. Right, so now the next phase for me would be to make my reference drawing on top of my blind drawing, right? So I'm going to do a half blind and half looking, right? A half blind and not even half looking, but just looking occasionally while doing the blind, right? Let's get the head in there, the shoulder. So I'm still very much doing the blind. I'm still, my brain and my body are connected with what my eyes are seeing more than, so my eyes are still very much connected to the reference image, right? Which is super important for me, right? So I'm not losing the I'm not getting disconnected from what I'm seeing, right? So I'm very much still looking at the image rather than my screen, right? Probably 80-20, 70-30 ratio, right? So I built on the blind drawing with that, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to take it any further, like I would say do a drawing do a drawing on top. Cameron, Brittany, I'm not sure if you're at this stage yet because you've got the anatomy archive of the training library, but I don't think you're that far into it as Cameron has completed it, I believe. Now, what I would do, Cameron, is I would start to... Now, you've done the bones rather than the muscles, so there is no muscle archive in the training archive library, but there's a bone archive. But if you know your muscles, then it's going to also benefit you as well. So I'm going to put my bones, without taking my pen off the page, Cameron, I'm going to put my skeletal bones and try to... You remember the blind guessing game drawing where we did bones and muscles and all those kind of things, where we guess the anatomy, we guess it, right? Daniel Garcia will know this as well. So I'm putting the clavicle there, I'm putting the shoulder blade at the back, the head of the humerus bone here, the ulna, the radius. So I'm not looking at the reference anymore. I'm now just playing in my mind the guessing game, the anatomy guessing game, right? So because that shoulder's up, I believe the scapula will be tilted like this. So that's what I'm doing on top of this, like ulna, radius, right? We can just scribble in the hands because they'll take a back. The clavicle coming here like this. Then we'll have the zygomatic bone, the frontal bone, the maxilla, and the mandible coming there like that. Right. So here is my skeletal referencing on top of that, right? Now, proportionately, she's quite a stunted model actually, but proportionately I feel that my legs are a little small. But I'm not going to care about that. I'm not trying to develop the drawing, the copying the drawing, getting it right, because when I look at the work here, I can see that Brittany can kind of do it. Cameron is really caught up in the blindness, the blind drawing, and then trying to get it accurate on top of the blind, right? So what I want you to do with this exercise is I want you to start understanding structure and understanding how the skeleton anatomy works. Now, if you're versed in muscles, or if you're not versed in muscles, you can learn muscles the way I teach the skeleton, or from the advanced archive of the training library, right? So where I do teach the basic superficial muscles. So I'm going to make up, I'm not going to look at the reference anymore. I'm going to come here, Cameron, and I'm going to make up my muscles on top of it, right? So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say, okay, we've got the deltoids, which are going to be here, right? Now, attached to the scapula is the bicep, right? We've got the lateral tricep, and then attached to that is the ulnaris and the brachioradialis coming here like this. I'm not going to care about the hands at the moment. I'm going to come back. I'm not taking my pencil off the page, right? So we've got the chest, right? So the pectoralis minor and the pectoralis major. Coming here from the scapula, we've got the under the bicep again here, the lateral tricep, the brachioradialis, and the flexor ulnaris coming here like that, right? Now from the arm here, we'll have the latissimus dorsi, right? Coming to the rib cage here, and then we've got the latissimus dorsi coming from this side here. Now coming under here, we've got the serratus anterior around the rib cage, coming into the external obliques, right? On this side. I'm not taking my pen off the page, Cameron. Note, I'm not taking my pen off the page. Up here we have got two of the rectus abdominis. Then we've got the rib cage cavity, and we have got the further rectus abdominis coming here. The navel should be a little bit lower, so my rectus abdominis are not stretched enough, but I know, I understand that I've made an error, so there, but I still know that there should be like 4 rectus abdominis in here and 2 above there. Now we're going to stretch downwards. Now where the pubis bone is, this is where the groin area is going to be. Now on this side we've got the sartorius muscle starting up here, coming around near the knee, and then we have got the rectus femoris and the patella. We have then got the abductor coming to there. We've got the abductor magnus coming in there all the way through there, and we've also got the biceps femoris at the back and the vastus medialis there coming in here. We got the gastrocnemius, the soleus, the tibialis anterior on this side. I'm not going to focus too much on the foots. We can do the bones of the feet, the calcaneus, the talos, the dorsal metatarsals, right, and the phalanges. Then we have got the abductor magnus on this side. The sartorius comes in here. The gracilis will be here. The gracilis is there as well. The rectus femoris coming here like this, and the gastrocnemius, the soleus, again the tibialis anterior, the calcaneus here. The on top of that is the talos bone, followed by the phalanges there like that. Now we will have the glands, because it's female, so we can just put 2 little circles on there, because that's literally how the glands are. We've got the trapezius muscle coming up to the back here and going in like this. We've got the sternocleidomastoid existing here. We've got the splenius capitis and all of the inside deeper muscles going on there. Now I'm not going to focus on the muscles on the head, we're not going to talk about that, because the facial features, they're just tiny muscles that exist around the bone. You can do the orbicularis oris, the orbicularis oculi, the levators, the depressors, the zygomaticus. They're all very small. The buccinator, the masticus, they were all very small, the frontalis. So there you can see I have made a muscle pass on the drawing without looking at the real thing. Now that you should look at the real thing, right? If I was going to do a blind muscle drawing, right, I would do a blind muscle drawing. Well, a half blind, I would be looking and thinking, where's the musculature coming, right? So this is the proper way to do it if I'm looking at reference, right? But it's not necessarily going to build particular skill in cognition of trying to work things out on your own when you're posing your own characters and posing your own drawings. So that is a suggestion that I will make to you if you really want to start making poses from your imagination. Because then, these are all things that you have to become familiar with. But then, you can start, like when I was animating this snake woman dancing, for example, for one of the projects that I'm creating at the moment and doing in the story archive, I would just have literally thumbnails that would be like this, right? I would have thumbnails that would be like this, where I'd kind of find a pose like this, right? And that would be my thumbnail of the pose, right? And then I would go and I would draw an amazing finished pose just on top of that. Now, how would I do that? Using the exact same technique that I disclosed to you. So let's bring this back and let me show you how I put it into practice at my level, right? And if you guys do the drills, do the repetition of the example that I've just shown you, and you do it for months, just like building weights and whatever, I promise you, you will get to this level. It's not something that you just, oh, well, he makes it look easy. I make it look easy because I've done the drills, right? Do the drills and you'll get it. So that's why I'm always saying anatomy, 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 right? So I'll come here and I'll say, okay, right, so first I'm going to do my hip line and shoulder line. So I've got those things sorted out. Now I'll do another drawing and I'll just simply do the same thing, right? I'll take my chest muscles, I'll work out where my abdominal is, my rib cage, right? Then I'll have my rectus abdominis, which sits inside where the pelvis is, right? So I'll work out the pelvis, right? Like this. I'll work out the pelvis. You see, Cameron, how that pelvis bone is crucial to getting that right? Right, and then that'll help me get my obliques. My obliques will come into the side there like that. And then I'll think about my lats attaching to the arm there like that where the bone is, right? So I'm coming here. Now I've got my bicep, my tricep, which is also attached to the scapula, my long tricep muscle, right? Rear tricep. Then we've got the forearms, which I will just sometimes just tackle in a shape rather than doing the individual muscles, because they just wrap around and twist and turn all of the ulnaris and the radioalis and all that. So I will just do that. Then I will start drawing my hand positions. Then coming in here, I will work out my trapezius, right? My trapezius. Now she's got a super long neck because she's a snake, so I will exaggerate that a bit. I'll maybe have that an up angle with the jaw coming like this, and I'll figure out the jaw and the nasal bone together, so that way I've got the zygomatic arch with the zygomatic bone coming in there in the jaw, so I can do that kind of easily like that, right? Now I will come down here, I'll work out where the glands are, right? This, I will move here. Now I've got this. Now in order to get her snake-like thing, I actually use human legs, right? So I will then say, okay, well, we've got the abductor coming in here and the thigh coming here, the glute there. Then this side will be like this. So I will have, I be a little bit vague with the leg because I know I'm going to turn it into a tail, right? So I know that I'm going to turn it into a nice tail and take some liberties with it, but then I'm going to then just start making this kind of joining kind of image here like this, right? So I've got something like that, right? So that's my blind drawing. If I press undo, right, you'll see just like that, I didn't take my pen off the page, the drawing disappears. And it's very, very important to be able to get that right. And you will get to that level, I promise you, if you do the drills in anatomy. Which is why I say, like, I don't care about AI or anything like that, because it doesn't, I don't need it. Like, AI is for the people who just need their hand held, right? I can visualize any pose I want. Now, I will still use reference because I want to enrich it with research. But sometimes drawing from imagination is great, particularly the more cartoony you get. And this applies to cartoony stuff too. So now, I am going to, excuse me, I'm going to start making this less anatomical, but think about these shapes, right? So I'm going to come out here and I'm going to just think about the outline shapes that I have. And I'm going to keep or do away with the anatomy, right? I think she's a snake woman. Let's keep her really long and thin. I gotta bear in mind the anatomy. So here I'm simplifying the drawing, so all of that information that makes it look like, a lot of people who don't know me and don't know my work, and they want to be mean when I run an ad, and that's fine. If I'm advertising, and they don't want to see what I'm advertising, then it's their right to be mean, right? I don't care about that, but I actually like their mean comments. They think that I've rotoscoped. They think, oh, this guy's he's just a roto. He's just tracing over real things. And to me, that's the biggest compliment, because I don't, right? It's just, I'm so well versed in anatomy that if I trace my own stuff, right? Like I'm doing here, I've worked out all the anatomy, and I've kind of traced everything out to make this basic shape. Now I'll come here and I'll figure out the basic shapes of anatomy that I want, so I don't use the underdrawing so much, right? The head I may have to do another pass on. I'm just gonna rough that in because the head has got its own appeal, but I'll just put that in there like that, right? So then I'll come in here, I'll say, okay, well, the belly's gonna be here like this. Where the obliques are gonna be, there's gonna be some kind of snake pattern thing there. We're gonna have a few of the ribs in there, but not all of them, right? And then I'll come here and I'll look at the texture of the legs, and I'll use that to help me with the contouring of the of all this stuff. Right, so let's get rid of the anatomy drawing, right? So here now you see I've got this quite accurate figure really fast, really without much effort. So it's just completely, it's all there, and now I can start putting the character on top, like so. She'll have this belt here, she'll have her modesty there, right, which will come here like this. Let's just shade that in somewhat. There'll be an eye in here, right? Then she'll have, now again I have to think about how the garment distorts on her, right? So she'll have this. So again, you have to think about squash and stretch of garments and clothes, and that's where the reference drawing, the constant blind reference drawing, you'll start to understand from the repetitions how it all works. Then here she's got a cape, right? So the cape is gonna come over her arms, so we're gonna have to bring the cape back, right? And the cape will hang. I'm gonna keep it one continuous thing like this, right? So that's gonna hang like that, right? So it looks like, oh my god, he's doing it so fast, and all it is just the repetition of the things that I've shown you, right? The repetition of the things I've shown you that make this read, right? Then she'll have some armbands there and armbands here, right? And that's basically it. Now let's briefly talk about the head, right? Let's talk about the head. So the head is, how did I do this, right? I just made a shape like this, right? And then I put my line here, and that's my eye line. But we're looking at it from an up angle, so I've got to get the jawbone in here. Now the jaw fits in from the sides of the zygomatic arch, which comes here like this, right? And that zygomatic is there like that. Then from here we've got the maxilla bone, right? And then here's the nasal bone and the nasal cavity. Now her bone and her face is a little bit different, right? Because she's got an extruding nose that comes like a snake. So we wouldn't really see that much of the top of the head, right? So that would pretty much be the skull. So it takes a bit of practice in understanding the skull from various angles, but once you kind of know it, it's difficult to get it wrong, right? And then in there will be the mylohyoid muscle, the omohyoid, the thyrohyoid, right, the sternothyroid, all those, like, the sternocleidomastoids will attach, the trapezius will come at the back and form the neck like that, right? So once you have that, I'm going to take that away and I'm going to draw the head on top so it's not interfering and you can see clearly, right? So you want to bear in mind that this is where the cheeks are going to be. So we want to keep the angle of these eyes almost like diamonds, and we'll give the eyelashes up here and have her looking down like this. Now the character's nose, right? It extrudes out like a serpent's nose, right? Like this. So we would see something like this, right? So from the side, if I was going to draw her head from the side, it would be like this, right? With the lip here, right? And the eye here, right? So that would kind of be her head from the side. So this nose would extrude out, right? And what we'd see is we'd see more of the upper lip because we're looking under, right? So we'd see more of the upper lip than the lower lip, which really sells that angle. Then we've got the side of the head hair, the side of the head hair, and we want to keep it simple because we don't want to put too many details in here, right? So we'll just start bringing this line here. We may bring it even higher like that, right? Take away the anatomy and make it work even higher. We've then got the ear, right? So that her ear is like this, right? But if we think about an ear, a human ear, right? Let me change my color. So if we think about a human ear, you got the pinna, you got the tegos, the antitegos, right? And the helix, right? And the concha all coming in there. But if we're going to look at it from the bottom, we will see this part bigger and this part coming around smaller. So we really want to exaggerate that part, right? You really want to exaggerate that part of the angle to sell that that's an upper angle of the head, right? And we'll have this coming here, a little bit of the cheeks coming in the side like that. Define the cheeks, right? So we would have something that's like this. I will take away that, right? And then there'll be some of the hair coming in to frame the character. This eye is a little flat on this side. It should be more. That's another thing that I messed up on. You want to have your eyes more of the at an angle like that. That'll sell the up angle, almost like an upward arrow. So let me just quickly fix that right now, so it kind of helps you understand what I'm trying to say. Oopsie. So I'm gonna angle that at an angle like that, right? Probably a little bit too extreme now, but you see how that helps sell the angle of the head, right? So it's all like that. So she's got this very kind of punk-like face, right? And then you can start coming in there with the neck and stuff and putting that in there. That's as far as I'm going to take it for now. Let me yellow that in. So you can see that we can start creating images. Because I did the head detached, it's a little bit small. You can blow it up, make it bigger, whatever, right? So it's a little bit detached, but you can see how you can start making your images a lot more naturalistic, and your anatomy and your gesturing will be a lot more accurate. And the same goes again. So Brittany did this drawing here of Gracie Goodbear, right? So the same goes for a cartoon like that. So if I was going to do Gracie, I would personally, if I was going to do Gracie, I'd like to look at a real pinup for inspiration. But if I'm just going to make up a typical pose, like a typical kind of pose like that, I'll have the hip and shoulder coming back like this, right? So again, I would do the same kind of thing, right? So her head is going to be big like this. So I'll draw her head. Again, her head is going to counter her shoulder line, right? So I'll draw her head like this where I think it's going to be, right? And then I'll come here and I'll start making my... So I'll work the obliques, right? I'll work the obliques because the obliques may give me something interesting. Now I might just come here with a simple shaped leg, right? Without the muscles, but I will know where the muscles are, right? I will know, like I can be cheeky and make this, right? Can bring this, right? Like this, because I've got that little bit of anatomy in my bandwagon. So the chest is going to be like this, right? It's going to... That's the center line. The chest is going to turn, right? Then we got the glands are going to come off like that, right? Oopsie, edit, redo. Edit, redo, edit, redo. Oh, I can't redo it now. It just all deleted. Anyway, I made my point, right? Something I pressed with my edit, redo. Did I cut it? Did I cut it? Did I cut it? Redo. Let's try it once more. Paste. Did I cut with my right click by accident? No, I didn't. Alright, but anyway, I kind of proved my point, right? So you can make it super cartoony by using simple shapes. You can do it with even more bouncy Mickey Mouse style characters, right? Let's have a nice Mickey Mouse style walk, right? Right, like this. So I'll just make a shape like this, right? So then on top of that, I will think about the anatomy just a little bit, right? So that's the shoulder. So from that shoulder, we've got a bit of a shoulder blade there and a latissimus dorsi and an external oblique coming here like this, right? So the belly is going to hang out from here, right? And the chest is going to be here, like this. And we're going to see some of the other scapula hair with the other shoulder blade there like that, right? So if you want to take it just beyond Mickey and be a little bit more anatomical and do a dwarf from Snow White or something like that, you can do that, right? And then here we've got the turning of the body again. So we'll have the iliac pelvis hair. So his butt will be about hair like this. Let me rub that out for you so you can see how nice that looks. The upper leg muscle will come here. The back leg muscle will come here like this, right? And then, so now we've got a nice anatomical cartoon drawing, right? We can turn that in, have the big toe and all the other little toes. So we've got a nice anatomical cartoon drawing, right? We've got the eye socket hair, zygo, like that. So again, then, if we want to get rid of some of the anatomy but keep it in there, I can simply trace what I've got. Alright, so now I've got a nice half, like I've taken the anatomy out of it, but I've still retained the intelligence behind the drawing, right? Which is why a lot of cartooning today really sucks. Like to a trained expert like me, when like I'm here on YouTube, I'm here to help people who want to just bring cartoon animation back to a high standard, because the stuff today is really done by people who just can't draw and they don't know. I'm not being mean, I'm just telling the truth. It's like saying I'm being mean for saying the sun's shining if it's a sunny day, or the rain. They really don't know how to draw. They've lost this ability, right? Some of you might not care. If you don't care, then I don't understand why you're watching my channel, but thank you. But I'm here to help those of you who do care, right? Understand that this art needs to be saved, right? By people need to know the difference. You need to know how to really draw. And an AI will not do this. An AI will not do this, because an AI will be too busy drawing from other references, all kinds, and it will not. Whatever I want to do just spontaneously comes out as such lively, energetic strokes of my pen that it's like an illustration, a straight up, and I can do hundreds of them. I'm not like some illustrator painfully trying to. It's just there without even trying to think or guess. It just is there. And that's how we keep hand-drawn animation alive. That's how we keep it moving. That's how we keep it breathing. Right, so that is the first part of the stream. Now I want you guys, as I'm going to read your comments, as I'm going to read your comments in the chat, we're now going to do the next half of the stream where you guys suggest a character to me. It can be any character. I will Google it, and as I Google it, I will animate it for you. I'll animate it doing a little jump, a head turn, or something or the other, something simple and quick that we can do to demo you the things that are important to animation. And it's not software and it's not tools. It's drawing and the laws of animation. So that's what we're going to demo. So please suggest your characters in the chat. Which character would you like to see me animate? I will Google it and do it. Start typing now as I read through your comments, and we're going to get some info. We're going to have some fun later on. So let's read. Oh yes, advice on storyboarding for beginners, essential activities and things to avoid. Well, the main thing to say for storyboarding in storyboarding is to literally have a story and have a meaning. I mean, why don't you try this for yourself? Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a big fall. Right? Let's not even talk about all the king's horses and all the king's men. How would you storyboard Humpty Dumpty sitting on a wall? How would you storyboard him having a fall? Right? What time period is Humpty Dumpty for you? Is it current day? Is it the future? Is it the past? Okay? What kind of, so that will determine the kind of aesthetic, the kind of environment, the kind of design. What is Humpty Dumpty? Is it an egg? Is it a person? Is it an animal? Is it a creature? What is it a cannon? Is it some kind of cannon on top of a hill that rolled down on a wall? A cannon that was using. That's apparently where the rhyme came from. So do your research. Immediately immerse yourself in a story. All right, now this is the story. Already the story is becoming richer by the qualities that you're giving to it. All right? Then what are you trying to say? What are you trying to say about Humpty Dumpty? And what are you trying to say about him having a big fall? Is Humpty Dumpty an arrogant bastard? And he's going to have a fall, so the audience will go, yeah, he had that coming to him. Or is Humpty Dumpty a caring father coming home from the shops with so many presents for his kids? Suddenly, oh, he has a heart attack and he falls. And the audience are like, oh no, right? So, for beginners, I would say forget about what angle is going to make you look badass or what this and that. It's about communicating with the audience. and getting to them on an emotional level, understanding what an A story is and understanding what a B story is. The rest is kind of tools that you have to learn to work yourself out, like continuity, mood lighting, mise en scene, editing, camera moves, composition. All these things are important, but they're just tools to help you get the story across. So that is my advice for beginner people and storyboard artists. No, the Cintiq hasn't got a mic on it. That's my own mic. Moy, how you doing? Just remember to suggest your characters as I'm reading through these comments. What character would you like to see me animate? I will Google it and animate it. That guy doing the farts was animated 9 years ago when I was contemplating quitting the industry. I just felt like sharing it again because I saw it on my phone and I was laughing. I said, I remember that. Brittany's not finished the archive yet. The lovely Hervonia Baker has made herself known. Are all animators this handsome? My gosh. Well, I don't know if he's referring to me, but thank you, Marcus. I'll take it. I'll take it. How's it going? Funky Dunkers. Zentron. Let's see. People talking amongst themselves. Seeing if there's any questions. Dylan Draws. Happy to see you. Please keep yourself safe. It's Charlene. Is she based there? I hope she's safe. I don't see her online. Samurai Jack. Okay. Max from Goofy Movie. What about... Okay. There you go. Studio Anima fell into the egg trap. Mr. Ratburn from Arthur. His head shape has... What is Mr... I used to like that show, Arthur, when I was young. Mr. Ratburn. Mr. Ratburn. Okay. Oh well, he's just simple. He just uses he'll just simply use slowing in and slowing out and a flick to get through it. So I can quickly do that one for you to explain that for you, but I'm not going to do that. Sterling Archer from Archer. Broly from the 90s. Who's Broly? Broly. Is he Dragon Ball Z? It's Dragon Ball Z. We did a Dragon Ball Z character the last time, so I'm not going to do another one. Gecko Cayman. Gecko Cayman. We did a Disneyist character last week. So I'm gonna try and do a different style today. Gecko Cayman is a very simple guy. He's just just like, I mean, I've been showing you the anatomy stuff. So I'm gonna quickly show Mr. Ratburn. Samurai Jack is not something that I've done that style. It's a very simple style, but I haven't animated something that simple, and it might be cool to just do a Samurai Jack animation. So let's do Samurai Jack. But before I do Samurai Jack, I'm going to talk about Mr. Ratburn. So Mr. Ratburn, you say he's got a weird shaped head. Let me just double check. Is my streaming? Oh yeah. I nearly made the mistake. There we are. Let me just see if people were telling me. David, Who's David? What's David from? Pedro's always asking me about Saint Seiya. I'm going to do Samurai Jack because he's not anime and he's not Disney and he's something simple, and you can have a lot of fun with something simple like that. Mr. Ratburn's head, right? The way you do him very quickly, right? You just deal with a shape like this, right? His head is just literally this shape, right? Actually, they play with, let's keep it simple. Let's keep his ear. If this is like this, then his eye line is like this, right? And his eyes are dead straight on top of there like that, right? And then he's got his little nose down there. And then in line with the middle of this eye, we've got his mouth, right? Right? So I'm just going to repeat the other thing on the other side just to make this simple for you. Like, these simple shapes are all about slowing in and slowing out, right? So I'm going to take this shape here and I'm just going to repeat the same. I'm not even going to look at the model because I'm not really animating this guy. I'm going to be doing Samurai Jack, right? But somebody asked me about how to do the odd head turn. The odd head turn is the simple timing trick that most cutout animators use, right? Let's put a little bit of hair on him because he's got some hair, right? So let me now just put the middle one, right? So I will look for his front view. I will look for his front head view, which I saw. So there it is. There's his front view, right? So you got to have the model for the character somewhere. So now I'm going to dip it. Now I'm going to favor it 1/3 to this side, right? I'm going to put it 1/3 to this side. It's just an oval shape, right? Like that. And I'm going to dip his head down. We're going to keep his mouth open like that. I'm going to, oopsie, should have had some whiskers on each side there like that, because the whiskers will help him. He actually didn't have whiskers on the model that I copied, or maybe he did, right? I'm going to blink his eyes, right? Let's just do that. Going to dip his ears down like that, right? I'm not spending too long on drawing this because I don't, right? So we've got this, but how do we sell it, right? How do we get away with just having this oval shape like that, right? So again, now the animated show author wouldn't do this. It would just, the animated show author would just slow in, right? It would like slow out. So it would have one hair like this, right? I'm not even going to change the characters. I'm not even trying to morph the character because you'll lose volume doing that, right? We're just going to, like a sliding symbol, right? We're just going to be like a sliding symbol, right? We're going to have one there like that, right? Then hair like this. It would do it again, right? So we'd have this hair. And I'm going to put this halfway in here like this, right? All right. So we would have something like this, right? But I'll show you, as always, how to put more life into it, right? So you got the head turn, right? And you kind of cheat. That intermediate is only seen, so we see more of these, right? So that's how we get that. Now, in order to make it even better, you know what I'm going to do, and hopefully this is becoming drilled into your subconscious now. As you keep watching me, you'll get better and better at animation. Is we want to have a little bit of anticipation, right? So we want to put the head up like this, and we're going to close the mouth. Right. I'll bring those down. Right, so we're going to do that, right? And we're going to slow a little bit into that anticipation, right? Before we come out fast. Right, so we're going to slow a little bit into the anticipation. So this is the rule, this is the law of anticipation, which is going to make our head turn a lot nicer, right? And then from here, right, we're going to put one more here, and we're going to go a little bit beyond the path, like that. And this is why these are the little easy tricks, right? These are the little easy tricks that cutout sliding rigged animators use in their animation, but because they don't really know about, they haven't studied human anatomy and human movement, their anticipation is shit, right? It's very, very generic. You see it being done 1,000 times, the way each character bobs and bounces and quirks and puts a little eyebrow up, and people like that now because they've been trained to keep watching it. If you're usually around shit and you're all the time around dog shit, somebody will come in your house and go, wow, your house stinks, but you don't know because you've been living in shit and stinking the shit all the time. So audiences today have got used to that kind of bouncy, twitching, shitty, cutout, rigged, symbol, flat 2D software based animation, which hand-drawn animation, real hand-drawn animators who know the subtle qualities of human movement would do anticipation a lot nicer. But here's so you see a quick example of the anticipation there. Because I slowed into this anticipation, I need to slow into the last pose because it does that stupid little quirk, right? So let's just quickly slow into that last pose as well with one, right? And that's how you get the head turn. So again, things don't just bob and click, and because my timing is more naturalistic, that's why that little bounce at the end felt unnatural, right? So you have more something like this now, right? So now it feels very animated, but there's only one real change of head shape, right? Which is this one. But it's all about the timing before and after the head shape, right? Which creates that feel. So hopefully, Studio Anima, that helps you out somewhat. Ah, yes, the Pixar. Look, yeah, the Pixar character. Every character has to have an outburst. All right, now Samurai Jack. Let's look at Samurai Jack. Samurai Jack. Let's do a little scene with Samurai Jack, actually. Let's do something fun. Well, how are we doing for time? Right? We're 1 hour in. Let's do something fun with Samurai Jack. So I'm going to have Samurai Jack walking. Then I'm going to have... Somebody asked me about storyboards. So let me quickly storyboard something and animate it, because Samurai Jack is so simple. We can do something here. Alright, so let's figure out a story. Jack is walking, right? Jack walking. Jack notices something, right? Right? 1, 2, 3. Jack draws his sword. 4. Something comes towards him. That's enough, right? So First thing we want to do, Jack walking. All right. So let's think of let's look at some of these images that I've got here. So what I'm going to do as a storyboard is I'm going to have an establishing shot like this, right? And we're going to have Jack walking here like this, right? There could be all these grass and everything here like this. Yeah, let's have that, right? So Jack is going to be walking amongst the grass, right? So he's going to walk here like this, right? So he's going to go from here to here, right? And the grass is going to be blowing in the wind, right? So Jack's going to walk from here to here, right? Now we want to put in a bit of suspense. So we're going to go into another side shot and we're going to see Jack's foot come down onto the grass, right? Right. So what happened there? Right there. So his foot comes away like that, right? Then we're going to have a side view of Jack walking, maybe from here, right? So he'll be walking like this. All right. We'll figure out the cycle. And back to that, right? And we'll loop that over a few times. So let's see how this is flowing. I don't know if this is going to make sense to you guys as of yet. So we see Jack walking. We continue with his walk here. So his walk cycle will continue, right? So we'll loop that walk cycle twice. Why isn't my shift key working? Why can't I select more than one? Okay. There. Edit, copy panels. Edit, paste panels. Right. Then he's gonna come here, right? And then he's gonna look down, and his foot is going to be here. Right. Let's change the angle. No, let's keep the angle there. And there's gonna be a ladybug or something crawling there. And his foot's gonna go down. The ladybug is gonna be there. Right. And his foot is gonna recoil. The ladybug is gonna quickly hurry away like that. Right. Then we're going to see a front view of Jack. He's going to be looking down, right, at it. He's going to smile. Like that. Then he's going to begin walking again. Right. So we're going to have him start his, see, I didn't go on the internet at all. Bump, 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 bump. He's going to start his figure of 8 walk cycle here. Right. Bump, bump. Right. All this basic figure of 8 walk cycle stuff is taught in Real Animator training, which is why you can see me implementing all just animation laws as I go onto this stuff. Right. So we want one more after this here in the middle. Right, so let's see how this works. I'm burning through so many panels here. Drawing them in even with a simple character like Jack might mean I don't really get this further. I know what I want to do next, but I might start drawing now in case we don't get to see anything on the stream. Otherwise, I'll just keep storyboarding this story. So we see Jack walking. We see his foot coming. We see a little cycle of the thing there. We see that. Let me very quickly do the cycles right now, right? So let me very quickly this is not good. This should be on a tab, right? So let me look for Samurai Jack profile. Samurai Jack model sheet. Model sheet. There it is. Perfect. All right. So let's get this one done. Right now, this can be done with cutout animation, which is why I said Jack is a very simplistic show. Right. So I'm gonna. We've got his head, which literally is a little bit like this, right? Comes kind of like this, right? Then we've got his halfway point, which is where the model says his mouth is, and his ear sits on there like that, right? And we come up and we divide it. On the bottom third is his nose, right? And we bring that in and we come up like this for his head. Then we simply bring this to his ear and we come off there for the sideburn, right? Now his eye sits in there. It's almost like a Picasso image. Right? His eye sits on him like that. Right? Now I'm going to get this tight because animating it is going to be really simple. Right? So I'm going to just spend, this is the only drawing we really need for this walk, right? So I'm just gonna get it quite tight, right? So then we have the bun, which is like this. I will look at his gi in a minute. But we have that. Right. Okay, so let's look at his gi from the side. Oh, he doesn't. His gi is a little bit lower. I'm going to change the angle so we can see a bit of his gi. His neck is... yeah, his gi would actually be about there. And it'll come down like that. Alright, now let me consolidate this with my heavy lines before tidying it up. See, this is why I love Samurai Jack, but somebody asked me why I thought it was a great show executed poorly. Is because a lot of it was just, because of the simplicity of it, a lot of it was just done as cut out, and it looked cut out. And if you like that, that's great, but I don't, right? So horses for courses. So now we've got the eye. Now his eyebrow comes fat here like this, and it curls in like that, and then we've got a under eye like this. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna change my shot because it's a little tight. Right. So let's quickly do the walk cycle, but I'm gonna, as I'm doing that, I'm just gonna tidy this drawing up because it is let's work with 10 good. Yeah, let's work with a bit more than 10. Let's work with 18. So I don't have to zoom in. See, now I just focus on the silhouette. Now I'm going to animate this, but I'm not going to use the cutout, right? I'm not going to use the cut. You could just do it using cutout, but I refuse to do that because I want to see what I can bring from drawing it traditionally. Sometimes, because of the style of the show, the cutout is all that's needed. So there is a valid argument for saving time by not drawing every frame. But the reason I'm going to draw every frame is because I want to put little inaccuracies, little squash and stretches in there too, which will, I believe, enrich it and stop it from looking so dead, right? Okay, so there is our Samurai Jack, right? So now let's go in and start doing more to this character, right? So I'm going to do what's called a down pose, right? Now as I do a down pose, notice what I'm starting to do is I'm starting to invert the shape of the head a little bit, right? Actually, as he comes down, I want his head to look up a bit, right? So I'm going to think about things like that. Then this bun will remain up, right? That's the halfway point, that's the mouth, that's the 2/3 way point of that, right? That's the this, Right. This. So we have, I'm gonna have his head looking straight. At the moment I'm looking at the model, I'm still familiarizing myself with the model because I want to play with the angle of his head, right? So I'm gonna curve this line a little bit, right? As we're moving into the down. So I'm really wanting to get the slight, see, as his body's going down, I want his head looking up, right? So I'm playing with the model. I'm changing the curve of his neck, right? To do that, right? So I can still have his head at that angle. See, cutting it out and rotating and pivoting the neck, you may get the same result, right? But you won't necessarily, as I said, I'm putting in anatomical nuances that the average cutout animator just wouldn't understand. I'm putting them in, right? I'm curling this neck a little bit to throw in a bit of anatomy in the character, right? I don't care if it's in the model or not, right? I want to bring something to this that I feel is lacking in the actual show, which I do love the show, right? I just want to emphasize that. I'm going to have his ear here. This. The eye is gonna, you have to be very careful. You got to be very consistent because we don't want his eye to look like it's floating around his face, which is why even unskilled hand-drawn animators would use place and trace, right? But I don't want to use place and trace because I feel that let's put that bun up even higher, like that. All right. So we have this. I've gained some mass in his head. I can see that, but I'm going to leave that because I don't think it matters too much. I gained that mass because of this line here, right? That creates that illusion. So you see how you can correct yourself, those kind of things. Therefore this changes and comes in. So the place and trace is what is used to be fast and avoid any issues like this. But when I'm not concerned about that, because for me this is a chance to work the accuracy of my hand-eye coordination so I get even better at consistency. So if somebody of my level chooses to do that, unless you're on a job where you're being paid shit, if you're doing it on your own thing, I urge you to do not miss the opportunity to improve. Now I'm going to paste this one here because I need it for reference. I'm going to make that a dark blue. Right. Let's red that in. So that's the down position, right? So now from the down position, I'm going to work on the pass position, but I'm not really thinking too much. I just want his head going in circles, right? I just want his head going in circles. So actually what I'm going to do is, before I do anything is I'm going to put an up position. So I'm going to rejig what I'm doing a little bit, right? So I'm going to have an up position here like this. The up position is going to pretty much be as was, but I'm going to lean his head even more forward a little bit. I'm going to straighten up his neck. Right. The bun is going to come down like that. The ear is going to be up here. Mouth is there, nose is there. Every time I do the drawing, I familiarize myself with the elements of the model again, which is why I do not want to use place and trace. Because you will have heard me say repetition is power. Repetition is the learning mechanism which programs the brain into familiarity. I have a motto: nothing in life is difficult, nothing in life is hard, it is only unfamiliar, right? So in order to make things simple, we want to make them familiar to us, right? So so the familiarity of the character can only be acquired through the repetition of drawing, right? However simple it is, however what it looks, right? So now we're playing with the shoulder angle and the head angle to add as if his shoulders are moving a little bit as he's walking. Bum, 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 right? I'm going to bring that a little bit forward. In with the neck there like that. Okay. So I am going to use this drawing to make this drawing. Let's see the chat. How are we enjoying this, right? 1 hour, 12 minutes. Mr. Librarian, that is, I like this Mr. Librarian. That is wisdom in every draw stroke. Just seeing what's going on in the chat. Oh no. Oh, yes, you can see what I'm doing on the screen. I thought I was getting David the Gnome. I remember David the Gnome. Schlitzweitz. He would always say Schlitzweitz at the end of every episode. Whoa, what was the song? There was a song at the end of that. Okay, no real comments while I've been animating Samurai Jack. Either you're all enjoying my Samurai Jack animation, or you're all busy doing what you're doing, right? So anyway, let's bring this up. That's an error there. You want to bring the shoulder up. This shoulder should be down. This shoulder should be up. Yeah. Perfect. You're going to look like a badass samurai walk. I wish I could speak Japanese just so I could talk like one of those bad-tempered samurais. I love the way they talk. I absolutely love it. They're such badasses. Right. And this is gonna come straight up. We're almost done with this walk, by the way, right? So we're going to put in the Pablo Picasso style nose, which is going to be here. The chin. I'm actually putting the chin more into his neck, right? So I might want to play with the sternocleidomastoid muscle a little bit as I'm doing that. Will it be noticed? Who knows, right? Right, so we're going to play with this. I'm really flipping backwards and forwards to attain as accurate a volume as I can. And even if I don't, the little inaccuracies on the chin bulging and everything will just keep it alive. Unfortunately, when flipping forward to backwards on the Cintiq, the buttons mess up a little bit. So it's not as good as flipping back to front, which is why, see, I keep pressing it. Pressing it, it's not going back. This is why paper is still king, right? Paper is still the best way to animate, because you just flip the paper forwards and backwards and you don't have to worry about any of these things. But I guess the flip side is you won't be able to see what I'm doing as clearly, right? If I was using paper. Right now, I may do the bun. I'm going to rough in the bun there, and I'm going to put the follow through on the bun a little bit nicer later, right? So that eye is all good. A little bit of inconsistency is fine. Right. Let's just heavy that in a bit. Okay, right, so that's the up pose, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this drawing here. I'm going to take this drawing here. I'm going to cut that, and I'm going to put that here because that's where it should have been. Then we're going to cycle back into this, right? Which is going to go right back here. Control V. Right, so we're just missing one thing, right, to get the head walk cycle. Now I could make this cycle a whole lot more interesting so it doesn't just look like he's doing one circle with his head. But we're going to do one step first, right? So we're just going to in between this now. And I'm going to in between this on a half. So we're just going to put that all the way halfway in there. I'll put all that halfway in there. And this is going to be the pass position, right? Now normally the way I teach it is I teach you to do the pass position between the two contacts. But the whole point of this walk cycle is now I'm going to break his bun up a bit, right? Just to add some. Nah, his bun's too tight, it wouldn't break, right? But we're going to reverse the curve of that bun. Right, so the eye is going to be, the mouth is going to be halfway, the headline is going to be halfway, this thing is going to be halfway, and the eye is going to be halfway. So here when I'm doing the in-betweening, you notice how I'm using the light box. Right. So the pass position is normally a very important frame, but as I'm just making this walk all about the down and up, the down and ups, I established a contact position, created a down and up, and the pass position is pretty much an in-between, because this is just kind of like a fudging walk, right? So now we have that there. So let me just heavy this guy in a little bit. We want to get the retain the eye shape. The eye is pretty much the character. Want to retain that, right? Right, so there we are. Now I'm going to have this come here like that. Right, so if that was just a one cycle thing, I could repeat that and just have like, so you can see we could just continuously repeat that as his walk cycle, right? And as a storyboard, you could do that, right? But I'm going to change it up a bit, right? So what I'm going to do to make it more interesting, and this is what anyone should do, right, is I'm going to I'm going to create another up, right? But before I create another up, I'm going to create a down, right? So the down went a big forward ways there like that, right? So I feel I'm going to change this down a little bit, right? I'm going to make this down a little bit less, right? I'm just going to do something like this with his head. All right. I'm going to move this down like that, right? So now we're getting this little bit of play has instantly made me a lot more familiar with the character. There goes that word familiar again, right? So I'm a lot more familiar with the guy, right? So I can pretty much start roughing him a lot easier, right? So let me just make my mess here. So I'm you never want the cycle to repeat the same position, right? Even if you're doing the side of the head, you don't want to do things like that, because it just makes everything his nose is growing somewhat here. I need to watch myself there. There we go. I'd much rather play my volumes this way, right? Because we get more life in the character. That's too much of a bulge there. Right, that. There we go. Bum, 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 bum. Yep, much better. Right. Let's just tidy this up now. I'm soaking it all in. Thanks for the stream. Awesome. Will you someday launch a course for background animation covering topics like lens blur? No, I won't do things like that, because lens blur and things like that, when done properly, are done by people who are great background painters and things like that. If you want to learn about, a lot of that is post-production that's involving the software, right? You'll notice as you're watching me animate, my friend, I'm not talking about software and techniques and things like that at all. So a lot of that stuff is software based, like those effects, kind of like lens blur, soft focus. What I would suggest is, if you're interested in getting good backgrounds and focusing on lenses, is to study photography and study a little bit about lenses, so you understand which is the right lens to use for the storytelling. Are you going to use a prime lens? Are you going to use a telephoto lens? Are you going to use a wide angle lens? What kind of lens? Are you going to use a variable lens? This way you'll be able to better understand what effect you want, because you're trying to mimic basically live action camera lenses for to create this language of cinema to tell your story, right? And a lens is essentially the camera mimicking the human eye, right? So which is, you've got fisheye lens. I forgot the millimeter of that. Maybe some techie like Zentron will be able to enlighten me and remind me what the millimeter of a fisheye lens is. So you got all these distortions and things. A lot of that you're gonna get in software, right? Because the cameraman in the days of hand-drawn animation, the rostrum camera and the cameraman would do all those things, which weren't necessarily things that the animator did. Okay, so now we're going to put a new up position. And again, the up position is not one that I want to just duplicate. So I'm going to create a new up position, right? So that's what we're going to do. We've got the down position there, so the new up position. I've put this contact here because we're going back into contact after that. Is going to be here. And I'm going to level him up like this. So I'm thinking about my line for the new up position. I'm thinking about this more than the actual head, right? The head is going to look down on itself like this. The ear is going to be here, right? All this business, right? The eye is going to be somewhat here. Again, all the familiarities are coming into play. That's like that. So this is going to be more back here. Let me turn that off so I can see. So you see, very much dealing with the outline of the character, the sternoclide. Getting all scribbly now. I kind of know the model. I can be comfortable with the scribbliness of it, right? Kind of pretty much know where everything is now. Familiarity has well and truly kicked in. There we go. Let's turn that on. Let's bring that up. Give him a bit of shoulder. Right. Bring that in a bit. Put a bit of shoulder in him like that. There we go. Alright, so that's the new up position. 8 to 10 millimeter for square frames. Yeah. Blur is mainly done in After Effects nowadays. Yeah. Okay, so we're almost done with the first walk cycle. We'll do another one in a moment. Just 1.5 drawings left to do. And then we're going to do his foot, right? We're going to do the shot of his foot. I had it all worked out what we were going to do, but I think, well, it's 1 hour 44 minutes. I've done super long streams before. Let's see just how far this thing takes us, right? I'm getting these two very animated shots in at the moment. That's his eye. And we got this. So again, a cutout guy would have just cut his head out and used the same head. Now, arguably, to argue in their favor, they would have got a similar result, that it was barely noticeable, and it would have been done in half the time. But for me, I've learnt a lot about the character, and I've thrown in various shoulder and neck adjustments. Right now, I have just got one drawing to do in between here, which will be my pass position. And then that's the cycle complete. So let's just throw that in a half. Let's in between this all on one half. The bun will come up there like that. We're going to just go simply halfway between the nose, halfway between the chin. To watch out my volumes here for the chin, and we're going to do a halfway on the belt. I could make my own episode of Samurai Jack and get loads of views on my channel if I was so inclined, but to be honest with you, I've got better things to do than draw other people's stuff, i.e. I want to do my own stuff, right? Because it's not me that the audience will be interested in. It's the Samurai Jack. So I have that part of my equation solved. This is why I'm not too fussed about the likes and subscribes. I mean, I'm very grateful for them, but I know that some of them is more because of the subject matters of what I've animated, whereas I'm more interested in sharing valuable information to tomorrow's hand-drawn animators. Right. Now, this is not fully in between, but I believe it's enough to use as a kind of, yeah. Now I'm going to double this up. So I'm going to go from here. Let me just red in all of these first. Let me close the group now. Red that in. Red that in. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these frames, and we're going to have a nice cycle. Edit, copy panels. Edit, paste panels. There we go. So we've got enough there. Then we're going to do the other cycle before we go on to doing anything else with him. Right, so let's first have a look at that cycle. So we see Samurai Jack walking like that. So notice how he goes forward and backwards, right? So we've got a nice feel of him walking there like that. And it's nice and organic. It's varied in the timing of the step, right? So it's not in between, but it feels very much like the characters walking along there. Right, so now I'm going to animate this scene. So I'm going to get the front view of our Samurai Jack. He doesn't really, I'm interested to see how he would look down, but I'll probably need to just, okay, so sometimes he gets the top of his head, does he? Let's go on that. Yeah, sometimes he gets a hairline, sometimes he doesn't. So he has a hairline at the top, and sometimes he doesn't. Okay, so that's a way of sorting that out. Okay. So let me so the front view is going to be a little bit different, so I've got to learn him a little bit again. So we're just going to have a shape here like this. Right. Now the nose, the nose is the halfway point. So his head is divided in half like that, and we've got a halfway point. That's where his nose is, and the upper half is where his eyes are. So his nose is his nose is up there, and his mouth comes below. So his tip of his nose is a little bit up the halfway, which is why I said that was a third, but it's not really a third. Then we have his eyes, which sit in this half. He doesn't really have an eye width in the middle. He has this kind of shape here like this. I'm going to play with his expression in a minute, but I'm just drawing this for myself. So his eyes basically touch the side of his head, and this comes up. This is flat, and we have this in the middle line here like this. I see, right? Then his mouth is his jaw, obviously. Right. This comes in the middle of there like that. Right. And his ears are in line with the bottom of his eye and his nose. Like that. That's his ears. Then he has a bun on his head. Right. His neck sticks out the sides. I've seen him drawn differently to this, so there's slight variations in the model. There's the one at the bottom and the one at the top. I've seen him drawn very differently to this. Very Picasso, actually. Now, then we curl his arms out to the side. I'm going to make him a little bit smaller so the walk can be interesting. I'll make him about there. Right. So we bring the arms there like that, and that's where we bring the V like this. Okay, so there is my reference, right? Now I'm going to tidy this reference up a little bit, and then I'm going to excuse me, use it as a something to play with and start changing the expressions, because I'm going to change the expression very slightly. And I don't have, I can Google an example of his expressions. Look at that eye shape, it is just that. It's different from the side. Nose. Let me look at that nose. Do we see the line? Yes, we do. It's a straight line. Mouth is like this. I'm going to look at the chat in a minute to see if there's any questions or any comments. You can see how I can very quickly familiarize myself with the model. And then start animating it. Do it come off there? Does it come off there? Thank you so much for the donation. Thank you. I will talk about that in a minute. Right. Yes, what's the time? It's the time. Very important part of the stream before we continue with this Samurai Jack walk. I always feel he needs more on the side. Sometimes I see him with the side bit on his hair, but the model sheet hasn't got it. His front view doesn't have that. It's very frustrating. I want to put that side piece on because it looks better, but I'm sticking with the model what I see here. Right, so let me very quickly see. We're 1 hour 56 in. Okay, so very quickly, if you are enjoying this stream and you enjoy my channel and you feel my channel is a valuable source of information to you and it really helps you move forward with your work, there is a donation link in the description. If you want to say thank you to me and support me so I can continue to make great free content like this, because let's face it, not everybody is going to buy into my course. So it really helps. Any little bit that you guys can give really helps me to continue creating long form awesome content in a world where the short form, short attention span people don't really want to learn this stuff. So, and the long form content like mine gets pushed to the bottom of YouTube and not found. So it's really I really appreciate it. Like to the guy here who sent me the donation, thank you so much. Every little bit helps. So there's a link in the description and it'll take you to my website, and it's quite straightforward really. I'm going to go to my website briefly and talk about my course, but the donation will take you to this page here, and you can click to donate to me, and basically you can choose any one of these amounts, or even if you just want to give me 1 cent or 1 penny excuse me, that'll be welcome too, as much as you like. Now the other thing is, of course you can go to my merchandise store and support me by getting the AMB Animation t-shirt, or if you're a Gracie Goodbear fan, you can get some Gracie Goodbear merch. Now, the Real Animator Training Library is the course where you're watching me, for example, in this stream, you watch me just bust out this walk cycle. How is everything feeling so naturalistic? All it is a blockhead moving, yet it feels like it's alive and it feels like it's a naturalistic walk, right? That's because its head is moving in a figure of 8, right? We can see it, right? It's moving in a figure of 8, right? Now, all of these secrets, I've spent the last 7 years of my life building this archive called the Real Animator Training Library. If you click join now, if you click Real Animator Training, you'll be taken to the page. If you click join now, you'll see that you've got an option of training archives and edutainment archives. The edutainment archives are much like the stream you're watching today. Really valuable, interesting content which gives you a lot of insight, but it doesn't really train you. Like I didn't really explain to you, like I'm demoing and I'm sharing tips while I'm demoing, right? So the edutainment archive is filled with stuff like that: anatomy sessions, drawing sessions, Ask the Animator. The anime Sakuga and effects archive, for example, you can see me animating and breaking down various scenes from anime and explaining them to you while reanimating them and explaining. So here you can see this fight between Obito and Kakashi from Naruto. So I animate the thing, I reanimate it, I draw every frame and explain to you the how, the why, the what, the where, the when, right? So that's, you've got an awesome archive full of tons of videos in there. If you want to learn, if you want to train, you've got the training archives where you have these various things. You can get them in bundles, the master bundle or the training bundle, or you can buy them one at a time, where you learn about the basics. So for example, in the basics archive, excuse me, sometimes this happens if I need to go and update my site. Just hit refresh if you're a member, it normally clears it out. So if you're in there, you'll learn about balls, pendulums, walk cycles. So all of the stuff you've seen me do here, like this is a basic shape, doing a walk cycle, right? But you'll really learn how to get the appeal, how to get that from the step-by-step basics archive. So again, you will have that in the basics archive. In the intermediate archive, you'll learn about flour sacks. In the anatomy archive, you'll learn about the skeletons and the bones, which is what we did previously. In the advanced archive, you will learn all about solid drawing and keeping things consistent on model. So you're watching me keeping somebody else's character on model. How do you draw somebody else's character on model? Well, in this archive, you're going to learn about that. You're going to do exercises like this, where you're going to pretty much be learning how to do a perfect 360 degrees turnaround of a model. Here you're going to learn about anatomy and all kinds of things in there. So the advanced archive is going to take you through courses on how to do stuff like that. So this is the Real Animator Training Library. It's pretty much the world's best learning resource in the craft of hand-drawn animation. While a lot of people are going to give up and they're going to do AI, because of AI, a lot of people are going to quit. But those of you who are real artists are going to remain, and you're going to want to learn the real way. This is the place that shows you the real way. It literally will get you to my level, but you're not going to get to my level overnight. You're not going to get to my level in a year. You gotta work. You gotta put in the effort. You gotta go really hard out on these follow-through step-by-step exercises, and you gotta repeat the process over and over again. So if you're interested in learning how to be a real animator in an artificial world of artificial animation, then the Real Animator Training Library is the very thing that you need. CalArts graduates who have paid 180 grand for their courses come to this place. People who have given the great Don Bluth in his 90s now, they've given him tens of thousands of dollars, they come to this place. People who have paid Richard Williams' son in London at Pearson College, they come to this place. People who've worked for Walt Disney Television, people who've worked on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, they've all come to this place. You've got to ask yourself why. The answer is simply because nothing gets realer than the Real Animator Training Library. So go click on the link if you're serious about doing what I do, you want to do what I do, you want to have those skills, you can have those skills. I'm giving them to you. This place has taken me 7 years to build. I'm still building it. I'm building new courses. This is the thing that's going to turn your life around, transform your levels into the real deal. It ain't called Real Animator Training for nothing. So, okay, that's the Real Animator Training Library. Go check it out. Go join it if you are a serious animator. and I know that it's going to be a very small number, and that's just how it is. You know, not everybody's serious. Okay, back to the Samurai Jack animation now. So I have made a drawing here. Now I'm going to play with his expression, because that wasn't the initial pose that I wanted. So I'm going to put on my light box here, and I'm going to let me go open Samurai Jack again and look at Samurai Jack expressions. Okay, I found some expressions here. They're very bad. I don't think they're by... It's a DeviantArt, that's why. Samurai Jack model sheet expressions. Let's see what I can find on Samurai Jack's expressions. Main model pack. He's only angry there. It's all online here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to write model sheet expressions. I'm just going to say Samurai Jack, and it'll get some stills from the cartoon where I'll see various expressions of him. There we go. That'll do me. Samurai Jack holding a baby. That's exactly what I want. Yeah, and he's got side bits to his hair there, so I might change that up a bit. Okay. Right. So I'm gonna change something very little. I'm gonna have him looking down. So I'm using the model sheet as my reference, right? I'm gonna change that. I think realistically I'm just going to have time to just do these 2 cycles. It would have been nice. We're going to straighten the eyes. That's it. That's what we want. That feels very on model to me. Gonna change the angle of the ears just a little bit to push this down angle. Gonna bring a little bit of head up. So we're playing with a lot of, this is again, so this is respect to Samurai Jack. This is why I respect Pablo Picasso, because Cubism, even if people think Picasso can't draw or is ugly, or Cubism, hand-drawn animation owes a lot to the Cubists, because we're kind of sliding the shapes around to create the illusion of distortion, perspective. That somehow this shape has got a solid 3-dimensional form, when it's actually very much just a flat shape. So I'm playing with the way I'm sliding his nose down. This is not like the way a Disney level model would do, because this is such a flat style. You've got to kind of change the angles a little bit. So I'm changing up the angles. I'm changing the angle of the nose to say that the angle of the head is down a bit, right? I put the eyes in there like that. And he fattens his eyebrows, right? Like that. So we've got a... Now this head is not necessarily even on either side, but I don't care if there's a slight drawing imbalance. I can fix it. If I was really concerned about this being a professional animation, I would flip the drawing and check if there's an imbalance. Now, in order to keep that, I don't know if this is a rule in the model, but I'm going to break the jaw out of the silhouette to make it look like he's looking down, right? That may be a no-no on the model sheet, which I would be told on the by the staff, but I'm going to take that liberty. If I was going to be the new person to reboot Samurai Jack, which I wouldn't, right? I would be very faithful to the style, but I would take little liberties like that, perhaps. But if that was not in the model sheet, so there we have something like that. Now I'm going to bring in the side elements of the hair just to show that he's looking down. Like that. Okay. So there we go. That is the Samurai Jack character looking down, right? So a little bit looks very different to the model sheet, but I'm happy that stays within the model. What I can do is I can lower these. I can lower these a little bit. That'll bring him somewhat back into that. Right. So now from there, he's going to smile to himself, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have him, let me create that there and create another one there like that. I'm going to take this reference model of mine. This isn't being used for any animation. This is just used to reference the model, right? And I'm going to have him raise his head up to this position. And have him do smile to himself. Like that. So I will keep the body more or less the same. So this is the little bit of secondary action that puts a bit of personality into the character. I'm going to keep a little bit of that side head in because I see it in some of the other drawings of the character. Okay. So no real under eye creases there. Let's look at that. Have that there like that. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to just tidy that up a little bit. Again, all of this simply enables me to be more familiar with the character. Right? And hopefully it inspires you to go and have a go. To go and take Google a character, look at the model sheet on Google. Today is absolutely, we live in amazing times. This would be classified confidential information back in my day, and you'd wait for an art book. You'd hope and pray that an art book would come out of a show that you liked. Say you liked Samurai Jack, you'd hope and pray that they would make a Samurai Jack art book, and then you would study with that big heavy book on your drawing board. You would study and you would try to recreate and learn from those few choice selected images that the author put in the book, which weren't necessarily the best, right? So we actually do live in stunning times where you can access classified model sheets, model packs, as easy as the first page on Google image, right? And it's all there for you. And you can really practice, right? And get your own little animations done. You can play, role play. I'm working for Gendy Tartakovsky today. I'm a animator on Samurai Jack, right? And you can role play the role. Now I'm going to create the next frame for the walk. So we're going to go into the down. So this one is out now. We're going to go into the down. So again, here I'm going to work in a figure of 8 process. So I'm going to rough this out again very quickly. So his head is going to be here. All right. We're going to turn that off the side a little bit. I'm just going to map this out, the center line here like this. All right. I'm going to have a little bit of change up there. Gonna move that to the side a little bit. I'm playing from memory with the character now. I'm gonna keep that smile a little bit there. Right. Now we're going to move into the up position, right? So I'm going to bring this here like this. So we're going to have an up. You see how loose I'm being now? because I'm doing some movement. I'm not caring about anything else. What are we doing for time? Let's burn through this now. 2:05. Okay. That's gonna be in that upper portion. We're gonna then get him back to his normal expression. And I'm going to turn his arms and change the angle of his gi either way. Bum 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 bum. Right. Now we need it on the other side. So I'm just going to take this. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste this here. I'm going to blur that in like that. And I'm going to have it as my reference for the other side. So we're going to do something like this. Alright, halfway. Nose is going to be there. We're going to change that. Eyes are going to be up here. Eyebrows are going to be here. Head's going to be here. Slowly, slowly my brain is working out everything. So it's all coming back to me now, right? So that's what it is. So now this is going to be this way. Right, like this. Bum, 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 bum. Right. And we're going to lose that. So down, up, down. So we need the contact. Okay. So this up is going to be the cycle point. So I'm going to put this here. All of these other ones are going to be unnecessary, irrelevant. I don't need any of this stuff anymore. Delete, 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 delete. Right, so bump, 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 like that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Right, so we need to put our pass position between here and here. So we need to put that out here, like the figure of 8. Bum, bum, bum. I'm playing with the size of the figure of 8 to those of you who are wondering why I'm scribbling so much, because Samurai Jack is a reserved guy. I don't want him with such a big figure of 8, but I feel I'm going to put it as a big figure of 8. It's a little out of character, but it's in line with the demo, right? Boom. It'll give him a nice. It's a nice showy thing to put as a demo on the stream, right? So the figure of 8 comes there, and then we come down there. Then we want the same back again. Right. So we're going to take our up point. I'm going to put that there. We're going to create the figure of 8 movement to this side. That'll do. Right. I just need to know that the animation works. And of course what this is all missing is the contact. So before I go in and start drawing the character on top, yeah, I will tone down the figure of 8s and I will put in contact positions. So that would be the slow in and slow outs of that. Okay, I can see that that's working. Let's start drawing the character in. Bread row is off. Gracie Good Bear Pillow. That'll be a good one. A good thing to sell. Not bad. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this reference position, which isn't really what and I'm going to use that for my up. I'm going to use that to create my up pose. So let me find my up pose here. That could very well just be my up pose. Let's see. Can I move that up there and end up using that? Yep, that'll do. That'll be my up pose. So I don't need that there anymore. Bye-bye. Right, so we've got an up pose. Edit. Cut drawing object. Right. Paste that. That's the up pose. Good. We've got the up pose back here as well. Paste that. There we are. That's one of the poses sorted out. We used it for something. We don't need it there anymore. Alright. We don't need that. Right. Now, let me work my down pose. So I'm going to bring these, I'm going to tone these things down, because while it's a nice animated walk, it's not really the character, but I'm going to keep the principles. The first step I'm going to tone down, I'm going to keep as is, right? So I'm going to have him, let me get my Samurai Jack model sheet, head sheet again, because there's a slight turn of his head to the side which we can cheat. We create a kind of front 3/4 of his head. All right. I was trying a little bit here. So here with the nose, we're gonna try to get there like that. I'm gonna keep the closed eye expression for this, because I'm gonna have him come out of the walk and then we'll change it. We'll change it on the other bit. Right, so now we're going to have a little bit of the side head on this side come in, not too much, with a bit of that ear, because we're going to bring his smile in a bit like that. We will take away that ear. We'll just take away that ear. So we're playing with the face. I'm going to have this. I'm going to keep this slightly rougher, this animation, as I've got a bit more to do on this than I would. Alright. So this arm, this leg will be in front, so this arm should be in front. So we're going to change the angle of this. And this is going to be a big game changer to what we're doing, right? Because that's going to start giving his body some form, right? Now, this needs to be toned down. So I'm going to move this about here, I think. So the figure of 8, I'm going to keep the figure of 8, but I'm going to have it traveling up. Right. And we're going to bring it square on. So that's probably where the chin's going to be 2/3 of the way. Like that. I actually don't need this body at all. It's distracting me, right? It's gonna be halfway, and I'm gonna keep this thing turned this way, like this. Right. Bum, bum, bum. Good. Perfect. Right. I'm gonna bring his head square on again. So we're gonna bring his head square on. So we're gonna straighten that line of the silhouette. That's very important, doing that. So we're gonna come back here like this. Notice how I'm flipping between those, the drawing that I feel refers closer to the pose that I want, right? Gonna have his head leaning a little bit over to this side. So now we're changing it back to this expression, right? He's had his little bit of happiness. He's gone back to being a miserable, very serious badass, right? Stuck in the future, right? Bum, 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 right? Bum, bum, bum. Actually, that should reverse this way. Bum, bum, right? And it comes this way. There we go. Right in there like this. Now we're going to bring him down again. So again, the down is going to be a little bit more reserved. About here, I think. And we're going to taper his head off to the side. just a little bit. We're going to introduce a little bit of that. Yeah, that's good. We have the eyes looking straight at us. The nose will change its angle a little bit. Mouth will be like that. There we go. We won't see that ear, so we cheat that. I have the neck here like this. Now this side was this way. So do I want to, yeah, I'm going to want to have that coming the same deal. On this way. Okay, there we go. How are we doing on stream time? 2 hours 28. How complex is it recommended to make the hairstyle? As complex as your skills allow it to be. You know, hairstyle is not, you know, one of the things that a lot of people think about anime is, oh, so complicated hairstyle. Anime barely moves, and when it moves, those hundreds of thousands of fringes in the hair they don't really draw them in on that super moving stuff. So, look, I can have a face like this, right? Right? Let's just say that this is a face. Right? Now I'm going to just make the hair like a simple block. Like this, right? A simple block like this with another simple block. And I'm going to divide it like with a layer here and a layer here, right? But this is an illusion, right? Because I might say, right, okay, I'm going to have like up here, I'll have something like this, 1, 2, 3, right? Up here, 1, 2, 3, a curl here like this, right? Then here we're going to have another thing here like this, which is dyed. And there'll be another thing coming off here like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, have it come the other way, have this come out like this, put a shine on here like this. Everything's got a formula to it, right? I'm just animating a formula on top of simple shapes. So if you can manage simple shapes, which most people can't, most people who want to animate, they've never really practiced a bouncing ball, a swinging pendulum, a flour sack enough in their life, and they want to do a super hot anime babe with thousands of strands of hair on her head. It's not that that's difficult to do, but it's going to be difficult if you don't know how to move a couple of circles or a couple of squares or anything like that, right? So what I'm exhibiting with this Jack character is a very, very simple shapes being manipulated, but with very nice complex arcs that make the animation seem really good and really advanced, because it's the actual arcs, the laws of animation that are being used to make the thing animatable, right? So the real animators of the past, the real animators, not like today's rigged, cut out, software dependent people who are about to lose all their jobs and whine and cry about it because of AI. We knew how to draw. We understood how to draw. We had confidence in complexity. So we could make complicated hairstyles and things like that. So my advice is to anybody, in order to get complex, you have to be simple, right? And you got to learn the fundamentals first. So you can make the hairstyle as detailed and as complicated as you like. And actually, in today's world, having boiling, which means like non-consistent, slightly dancing around hair, would actually be quite a good thing, because in the perfect world of AI where everything's so perfect, having it a little bit fussy will make it feel more hair-like and make it feel more like it's dancing around like real hair and stuff like that. So so good question, thank you. Right, so I'm gonna have this here. I'm gonna throw in some fast in-betweens after I get this particular frame done. And then we'll have done 2 walks with Samurai Jack, kind of in the style of the show, but hopefully a little bit nicer. No hopefully about it. Nicer animation. Right, so so we're gonna have this come up here like that. Where this is gonna go in like that. Right. My pleasure, Analia. So here now we have, let me just check that before I draw that in to see if the subtle, yeah, there we go. It's still a little over animated, but the in-betweening will also if I really wanted to animate this like a full-on Disney, I would slow his figure of 8, making it smaller, and do another cycle. Rather than repeating the cycle, I will have that figure of 8 movement get smaller and smaller as he's walking, and that way you'll add more complexity to the animation. So we have this one here, right? Then his foot comes on the bug, he lets the bug go, he looks up. This needs to be timed, which I will do. Let me finish this, and then let me finish this drawing. Then I will go in and I will add some nice timing to the expression. Right. So again, this is just the basics, the bare basics. But you see, I could repeat this cycle and get away with it. But if I was making this, if I cared about what I was doing and it wasn't just a YouTube demo, I would animate that cycle getting smaller and smaller, because it'll show a shift in his personality as he's gone from this kind of happy mindset that a little bug he was about to squash, he saw it and he let it move on its way. He's gone from that mindset back into the focused, serious, badass Samurai Jack mindset, right? So we've kind of that by making the cycle start big and then get smaller and smaller, it will create a animated personality. It will enrich that personality of the scene, rather than just being lazy and just repeating the cycle over and over, which is probably what they would do in the show. Right, so let's have this come here like that. Okay, that's good enough, right? Bum, 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 bum. Right, so we've got this. Now, so the cycle is like this. There's couple of scribbly things in there, but they're okay, right? So that's the walk. We could repeat that. Actually, this down needs to be done. I just need to take this down in order for this to cycle. I need to do this down again because he shouldn't be smiling now, right? So there's one more to do, which is this. And this is easily changed. We simply just take the head and change his expression, right, which will be like that. See the distance of the mouth? It's a little bit low. There we go. The eyes. There we go. Right. So I'm not even looking at the model anymore. I'm just looking at my own animation frames. There's a few things that are a little bit off, but it's good enough for the stream. Let's have that there like this, and like this. So we can now repeat the cycle forever. And again, as I said, it's lazy to do so. But if it would need in-betweening, but I'm not. Let me. 2 hours 47 minutes. I'm going so fast. When creating characters, how do you capture the likeness of your reference? Again, there's the dodgy caricature way, or there's the way of understanding the facial bones, right? So you need to know if you need to look, has the person got a what kind of jawline do they have? What is their zygomatic bone? How close, how far apart are their eyes? How large is their forehead? Those are the things. Once you understand the anatomy of the face, then you're good to go. Okay, let's start breaking this down a little bit. So first thing we would do is we would blink the character, right? And to keep it alive, I will trace back his face, but the rest of the character I will put in there like that. Let me just, excuse me, this is annoying. Edit cut. Paste that in now. There we go. So I would blink him. Then I would have this one again. So there's a blink. Actually, I'm just trying to be too damn cute about it. Let me just delete all of this. The only thing that we need to change is the eyes. Paste those in. So this would be a held drawing, right? And we would just change the eyes. It just looks fussy for the demo, right? Right, so we just blink him like that. Now, here's where we would do something, right? So I will hunch his shoulders up a bit and make him breathe. Alright. But I will bring that head, and this is again something that you could do with place and trace, and arguably that's actually the thing that you would. So his head will come down a bit, right? His neck will stay the same, but his shoulders come up, his head goes down. Right. His nose will come down just a touch. His mouth will get a little smaller. He'll blink his eyes. Let me first bring his eyebrows down to where they should be. Right, this head should come down. The ears will come down just a tad. Actually, I'll bring his bun up even higher. Right. These eyes, because they're blinking, are tricky. So I'm going to bring them to the bottom so they don't fight against the thing. So he blinks. He says there. So now we're going to have him exhale and lift his head as he sighs up. So we're going to bring his... Really, we should bring his shoulders down and settle a lot more on the rise, but I can't be bothered for the sake of the stream. I'm just going to in between it straight, right? So there's lots of subtle stuff we can do to his shoulders to make the animation more naturalistic. Now I'm going to bring the head 2/3 of the way up, right? So the head is coming 2/3 of the way up. So that means let me sort this out first. That's 2/3 of the way up. Let me look at this now. These eyebrows are 2/3 of the way up. Everything for me is about practicing consistency. You want to get good at consistency, don't use place and trace, right? Simple. You whine and moan, oh, it's so hard to keep things consistent. That's because you keep fucking around with shitty software and missing the opportunity for you to develop skills, consistency skills, right? Now we're going to have that smile start to rise. Let's have a little bit of a fluctuation in the bun. Right, so we're going to slow into this now, slow into the smile line. So we're going to put the half on there like that. We've got a few in-betweens to do on the walk as well, but this is the thing that'll make the walk nice. right, the little bit before. I think I will do that to the shoulders, right? What I was talking about. So, because this character is so simple, in betweening it doesn't take long at all, right? It's just scribbling. Those people who are going to stay on the stream and appreciate the stream are going to stay on it. A lot of people are going to think this is like watching paint dry, right? So this information is invaluable to some of you who really want to develop your drawing skills. Now, I'm not going to do that. This is what I was talking to you guys about earlier. I'm going to go below the shoulders. And with him, I'm kind of taking liberties with the anatomy because I'm just being quick. So I'm just making his shoulders small. They're just a round shape, right? Right, so we have this. Now one more. Right, that one more is going to make it gold. Right? Slow in and slow out, when done right, is the secret sauce to making things. Yep, there we are. Hopefully that didn't interfere with you too much. OBS disconnected. How are we? We're not even 3 hours in. We've already busted out some full-on Samurai Jack animation. Right. Of 2 scenes. Almost, right. Now we could push this slow in even more, but I'm not going to. For the stream demonstration, this is enough. Right. Really, you'd want to slow in even more. Really have him smiling, taking that breath in, smelling the fresh air, being happy, feeling the breathing on the character with the shoulders moving in and out, right? Inhale, exhale. These are the little touches that those rigging boys, those people crying about AI taking their jobs, they wouldn't even think or bother to do. Right, so there we go. You see how that really feels nice, right? Where he comes there like that. Now we're going to get into the first step, right? So we're going to come out of it now. Brittany Goddard is off. What good animation do you enjoy at the moment? I don't know. Pretty much everything at the moment is trash. I'm being honest. I have no interest in what's done at the moment. It's just trash. And most of it, especially Western animation, is just CGI, 2D rigged. It's all written by people with an agenda that may interest some, but it doesn't interest me, right? I really have no. I just want a good story. I don't want to get involved in which group is going to be happy or angry if they're not in my story or this and that. So most stuff has of no interest to me content-wise, and it's no interest to me quality-wise either. Like I just, from an art point of view, there's just nothing, absolutely nothing. If there's been so many great. The thing is you have to ask yourself. You have to put yourself into the creator's shoes and not be a consumer. Would a great director like Ridley Scott, Steven Spielberg, Alfred Hitchcock, John Ford, or let's talk about somebody newer, Christopher Nolan, would these guys really be watching all the current stuff going, yeah, I need some inspiration? No way. No way. That stuff is made for the masses. It's made for the kind of brainless consumers, you know. Most of it if something really good gets made, then a good director will take notice. It's not like everything is shit, but it's getting less and less today. So, for example, Ridley Scott, who directed Blade Runner, he directed his first movie, The Duelists, when he was in his 40s. He wasn't going to be looking at Star Wars. He wasn't going to be looking at the things currently in the cinema. So you gotta kind of think about your mentality as a director, as a creator, and think about, well, what stuff has really made an impact in your life and why, and then research the things that inspired that. Look at the sources. So a lot of what made Blade Runner good was the futurist Sid Mead, who was a production designer on the film. And then I believe that it was inspired by American painter Edward Hopper. So you got to look at a lot, like Sergio Leone, when he did his westerns, was inspired by Akira Kurosawa samurai films, John Ford westerns, epics like Ben-Hur. You know, you got to look at the sources of all these things and then give yourself a more mature mindset if you want to start creating art with substance. So if I look at anything today that's half decent, because I'm kind of old now, I'm almost 50, I kind of know where they've taken it from. I kind of know, well, this is taken from Hitchcock, or this is taken from, I don't know, Visconti, or this is taken from Jean-Luc Godard. I'm deliberately throwing in these artsy-fartsy names just to get my point across. They don't have to be taken from artsy-fartsy things. Dark City borrowed from Akira, for example. You know, Stranger Things lifted from Akira, lifted from Terminator, lifted from Conan the Barbarian, lifted from Alien, lifted from E.T., lifted from Ghostbusters, lifted from, you know. So you look at it and you know, okay, well, this is just trying to be this, right? I can sometimes pay respect at the homage of it all, but I'm not really gonna go, wow, man, I'm really inspired by that. It's just created by a bunch of kids for a bunch of kids. I'm not saying it to be, well, actually I am. I'm deliberately being elitist because I want people who do hand-drawn animation to return to strong art fundamentals. If you want to produce meaningful, strong art, even the Japanese animation that you like, the ones that are really good, have got their a basis in classical art, whether it's their own Japanese art. That one of my favorite Miyazaki films is that one that looks like it's Princess, what's her name? I can't pronounce the name, but I saw it recently and I thought it was made like brush paintings. That was amazing. Brought attention to me more so than The Boy and the Heron. I'm not going to complain about The Boy and the Heron, though, because that's his style. That's what he does. Right, so I'm going to slow into this down. So I put a half coming out of it, but I'm going to slow into the down one more here. I'm going to slow in one more to this down position here like this. So I tend not to really watch modern current stuff for a variety of reasons. Yes, I may be shutting myself off to some great work. I concede that, but I'll be willing to put most of my bank savings in a bet saying that none of the new stuff is going to be as deep or as based in art as the old stuff, because it's too much got its ass up technology today. It's too much catering to audiences who have the attention span of a TikTok feed, you know. So I am going to be kind of prejudiced against it, because I'm only concerned with that which is excellence, and there's so much excellence that I haven't discovered from past generations that I would much rather immerse myself in that and bring that into a modern, into the current times with my interpretation of it, rather than looking at stuff that's just been produced to get a dopamine fix from a zombie audience that is already drowning in dopamine. So they really, really need to be hit with something really graphic and something really hard to get their attention. So no, I can't with good conscience say that anything today is worthy of my attention. So this thing comes here like this, right? So this is the first cycle. So how we enrich that is we did 2 different ones. This is going to be a continuous one. So I'm going to really play into the down, and we're going to come up hard, fast, and then we're going to slow in and out of the fast position here like this, right? And that's what's going to give it that bouncing ball, but more like a jumping ball. If you've been in my training library and you've studied the jumping ball, this cycle is more or less based on the jumping ball as opposed to the bouncing ball. So again, see, for me it's very important. One of the whole reasons I'm on YouTube is to if it means I don't make friends and gain millions of followers, so be it. I want sincerity in hand-drawn animation. I want people who really believe in this craft to study this craft and learn it, and to study higher art. This is an art channel. I want animation to be once again associated with art and not with software, people looking to alternate, people getting kicks out of cartoons that cover topics which are a bit risque and all that. I'm not interested. I don't create children's content. I create anything that interests me, but animation for me is a form of high expression of art, and cartoon art is a great art form. And I want today's generation, or anybody from my generation who wants to do this thing, I want them to learn those things, immerse themselves in those things, understand those things, appreciate those things, and go on and create their own unique expression, right? Instead of just fan art, fanboying because you're a certain age, fanboying over something which will be meaningless to you when you have your wife and kids, or have your family, or do whatever, get your job. So we want animation to be something more than that. Right, so we've come in this one, so now we're going to do a half coming out of this. So we got to do a halfway and a halfway between this and this. Oh, I didn't do that. I didn't okay, yeah, so this will be 1/3. This will be 1/3 of the way. So I have to scribble this one a bit because we want this to be a third. As I'm trying to 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. This changes. I go back to the construction here. All right. There we are. Right. I'll come and look at the chat in a minute. It's quite good fun playing around with other people's characters sometimes as a bit of a break. There we go. Right, let's just tidy that up a little bit. Zentron is off. Sherlock Hound by Ghibli. It's old, I know that. Yeah. I know JP is a big fan of that stuff. Right. So here you've kind of seen me animate two quite animated cycles with a very simple character, right? Yet the cycles are quite naturalistic in their movement. They don't feel like silly, bouncy trickery, right? Which is akin to the style of cutout rigged animation. And that's why I feel Samurai Jack could have been a great show if it had the talent and the budget, right? But for me, it's just the show itself is like watching a great animatic, right? A very promising thing that could have been, if animated right, could have been extremely deep and beautiful, but it just feels like an unfinished storyboard with a great use of sound and simple painting compositions. And it's all very nice, but it's very poor in the movement. So now what I'm going to do here is animate this as a third of a third, which I don't normally advise, but I would make that other one a key, right? So I'm not putting this halfway because I want to express the down. That's good enough. I'm not going to get my volume 100% on this because I want to speed up now. I feel I've made my point. It's a little bit off, but it'll do. Right. So we've got that there. I feel this is dragging on a bit now. And when a stream drags on, it drags on. We don't want that to happen, right? So let's check the timing. Bum bum. Okay, there we go. Right. So now I'm going to come straight out of that with no in between, and I'm going to in between into this and do the same thing on that side, right? And then we're done. But are we done coming out of it? Yeah, we're done coming out of it. We can come out of it with that. So we have to do this here and one between those two. Okay, so two more drawings to do, and I feel that's it. So let's very quickly get through this. What's going on in the chat? Finally got one of these. I've been going through your YouTube library. Once I've saved for the driving lessons in a car, I'll be investing in your library. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. And you'll be doing yourself a great justice, shall we say, not a grave, because you're going to see just how that library is going to be very, very insightful, more so than the stuff I share on YouTube. YouTube, I have to bear in mind, like here, I'm kind of like, it's a demo, and I'm thinking it's great seeing me animate Samurai Jack, but now it's getting repetitive, right? So I have to bear in mind audiences, even if my audience I know is going to be more patient than others. I do have to bear in mind, people can check out and say, okay, I'll just skip until the end of the stream and see how the animation turned out. So, but with the library, it's pure instruction, and it's not entertaining at all, right? Well, it's entertaining when you watch your own work getting super great, but I don't have to worry about things like this, like what's going on now, where I keep watching the clock. And it's not really, the library isn't. There are edutainment streams where you're seeing me animating other people's characters like this, but the actual training streams in the training archive are very different. So excellent. That's nice to know. Thank you. I want to reach as many people as I can to get the hand-drawn animation back in the mindset. It's exciting times for me. I'm so happy about AI. I'm so happy that AI is here to get rid of the drifters who weren't really people in love with animation. People just looking for attention, looking for easy money, sliding shapes around. AI is going to get rid of them, and animation's going to go back to the animators, right? The drawn, real animation, that is, the stuff that I teach, is going to go back to the people who really want it. I studied arts at Bournemouth. Oh, a fellow Brit. I went to Farnham and walked away with a degree in animation a year or so ago. The 2D Disney inspired stuff, the real stuff, is the only way for me. Awesome. Yes. Bournemouth animation. Not seven. I'm almost 50 now, so I don't know. Many years ago. My maths is terrible. Many years ago, when I went to uni, I went to a place called Farnham, West Surrey. It was called the West Surrey Institute of Art and Design. Now it's called YACA or something like that. They were the only one of the only animation degrees. Bournemouth and they were one of the only. Now you can get them anywhere, but they were one of the, and it was awful. Nothing was learned. I just did what I wanted to do. Thankfully, I didn't listen to my teachers. My brother wanted to be an animator as well, and he went around talking to people like James Baxter, who had just come fresh off Beauty and the Beast, and asked him for his advice and things like that. And I listened to the advice I got from people who were in the animation studios, and I just used the time I had at uni to just work on that stuff, and I ignored everything my lecturers were talking about. And all they were interested in was Jan Svankmajer and all these alternate European animated films, which were nothing about the actual craft of hand-drawn animation, but more about the conceptual art side. You can be artistic, but when you enter the realms of conceptual art, where it deliberately is deliberately challenging what is people conceive as art, i.e. stuff that's from a craftsmanship point of view at a high level. That's all well and good if you want to be a conceptual artist, but not if you want to draw and animate. Yes, you can't get them anywhere, but they're not all great. I sing applied to Leeds, and when I went, exactly, it was experimental. Yeah, the funny thing is after I came off Farnham, I was offered a job immediately because I didn't even attend my graduation screening. I said to the teachers, I was very blunt. My personality is not much different now. I said to the teachers, this place is a cesspool. The only thing that will rise out of it is shit. But I'm going to rise out of it. But I'm going to be good shit, right? I'm not going to be listening to what you guys are doing. And I didn't attend my graduation ceremony. I didn't attend any of that stuff. But I just... and I was offered a job on a movie called Christmas Carol, which was being released at the time, I think in the early 2000s, with Kate Winslet doing a voice and all that. But that was as an in-betweener. I got a job as an animator on a TV show straight out of coming out of school. And none of that was accredited to the anyway. I tell this story because then I went on, as I carried on freelancing, getting work from other studios. London, Central St Martin's School in London, where I did my art foundation, very famous for fashion, but they had no animation when I applied for animation. They suddenly had an animation thing going on there. And I went there, and people who were giving me a job on a TV series, it was a really bad TV show for the BBC called Snailsbury Tales, really awful, very cheap, worse animation than way worse than what I'm doing here, but I was getting paid for it. I went to collect my scenes from Central St Martin's College because my mate who was giving me the job, he was teaching at St Martin's. And when I went in there, about 7 people from my degree course were on there doing another course. And they said, have you come to sign up? And I felt a bit guilty, but I felt a bit smug. I said, no, I ain't come to sign up. I've come to get some work. I'm working, mate. But there you go. It's because a lot of those guys bought into the conceptual experimental art shit, you know. And there is some worth to it. Otherwise, you're going to get this commercial claptrap, this brainless commercial claptrap. So there is some worth to the conceptual artsy-fartsy side. I don't throw it away completely, but I think one has to have a craft, a master of the craft. It's like trying to use language when you don't know how to the words. You don't know the words. You like speak in a very like broken, grammatically incorrect manner, right? It's like when you talk like that, how can you express yourself? So it's the same with a craft, like an art. You need to learn the skills, right? So here we've got now this cycle should really be getting smaller and smaller, otherwise it'll just look like he's going from side to side, right? You can get away with it twice and say he's walking, but it's not good enough, right? It just looks like he's going from side to side, right? So the way to solve that is to make the figure of 8 that his head's moving in get smaller and smaller and smaller, and then eventually that'll create some depth to the scene. There's not enough time to do it on the stream at the moment, but I feel I've conveyed my point. I've taken the Samurai Jack character, I've done a side-on cycle here with him, like this. And now I've got this, right? So it really works coming out of that smile, that nice big step. But now we need to get into the smaller steps. So you can see how the repetition doesn't work when you do that. But when you see the personality change, that big step is good. But now we need to tone it down. We can't cycle back into it. That's lazy, and it just looks cheap and doesn't quite sell the illusion. So hopefully that shows. I don't know if my rough drawings here are kind of like good enough for you to make out the original storyboard, so let me just very quickly go over these so you can kind of make out what it was. Okay, so Samurai Jack was walking, right? He continues his walk here, right? Then his foot is coming down, right? Alright, so his foot comes down. His foot goes up. We see him walking, right? Then we see this, right? Then we see the foot coming down again, right? We see a little bug, right? The foot comes, right? Then the foot recoils. The bug goes on its way. Right. We bring the foot out, the bug's out, right? So the whole storytelling of it would have been, we see Jack walking, right? Then we get his feet, his foot stepping, him stepping, the foot coming down, the bug there, him looking, him smiling, and continuing his way, right? Very quick, very simple, kind of in the style of the show, but the movements that I've put in are not in the style of the show, right? You wouldn't see Jack walking from side on with this kind of level of arcing, and even here, even though it gets repetitive after the second, you wouldn't see this kind of arcing in a Jack walk, right? So hopefully there are some takeaways for you there. I'm going to kind of call the stream now. There wasn't much said. How are we doing for time? There wasn't much said in the chat after the hairstyle comment. Oh, Silver Sonia, he asked about that. Mr. Leon, interesting what you're saying about AMB. When photography was invented, painters were scared to death about the set of painting. But exactly, now this is something I got from art school, and this was more about the conceptual art that was good. I learned about an essay from a book called Illuminations by a man called Walter Benjamin, and it was called The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction, which was exactly the point Mr. Leon is talking about now, talking about the aura of art, talking about the originality of the Leonardo da Vinci in the Louvre. You know, while it can be in a book and people all over the world have seen it, why are people paying millions to go to France just to stand and see the original in its kind of bulletproof casing with a distance on it? People just want to be with the aura of the original. So what Walter Benjamin wrote way back in the early 1900s is very relevant today, which is why I don't feel any intimidation from AI at all. In fact, I embrace it. I don't intend to use it. Even for things that are nothing to do with art, I still am a little bit reluctant to use it. Maybe one day I might cave in, as a spell check after all on my phone is a form of AI. So the brush strokes I'm making with this pen is a form of AI. They're not really brush strokes, are they? They're digital code resembling brush strokes. So we've all been using AI to some degree. But AI art, I love it because it is cleansing the art animation world of the undesirables, shall I say. And yeah, I'm gloating. I'm reveling in their departure, because they ruined hand-drawn animation. They killed any form of real art that was in hand-drawn animation. Animation used to be about how well one could draw. Yes, I concede animation is not strictly limited to drawing, but at the end of the day, it was always considered to be something that people who draw could do, i.e. people who had skills, people who could transition what was in their mind's eye with their bare hands and have the skill to uniquely interpret that unique view. Now, a bunch of people are playing around with models built by other people, pre-programmed libraries containing body parts, which a 2D puppet they can just select and slide about, and they're claiming that they're somehow animators and skilled artists. No, they are just operators, and now the machine can do it itself without the human operator. So these people could either, if they are passionate, they could learn the real skills. They're very welcome to join. I say this deliberately with antagonism. They're very welcome to join the Real Animator Training Library and learn real animation from me. Or they can just depart and be on their way and let real artists draw and let everybody else do what they were doing. Because everybody else can do it now. Everybody can now type into AI, I would like to have a Pixar animation or a Disney animation, and they've got it. And when I say Disney animation, I'm talking about the new stuff, of course, not the hand-drawn masters. And they've got it. So anyone can do it, and it should be accessible to anybody. Such things should be accessible to anybody. Why should you pay to watch the Hollywood elites making trash when you can ask AI to make your own film to the same level? The only way you're going to get something special is when a real artist makes it, right? Which is why I'm not afraid, and neither should any of you who consider yourselves to be real artists. You should be celebrating the arrival of AI as it cleanses the industry of the crap that brought art, that removed art and animation from animation. Sadly, okay, Zentron is off. What has been the longest animation you've ever done alone? Its duration? Probably my Santa Claus film for my special. Like in this, if you join my library in the educational archives, let me show you. I'm not trying to sell you anything, I promise. But if we go to Real Animator Training Library, in the edutainment archives, there is now I originally streamed these on YouTube, and they were only getting something like 500 views per episode, so I thought, fuck it, I'll sell it to the people who are interested. So I made this short film over 56 live streams and documented the entire process. And, you know, you can get that for the price of a cheap phone, right? For the price of a, you know, a low-grade smartphone. How many people can get to watch a master animator make a film from start to finish over 56 live streams of this quality, right? So this is a 2-minute film. If you'd like to see the film, you can see it there. Or there's actually on my YouTube channel, I've got this as a commercial. It's a video called How to Animate Your Own Film. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you can watch the whole film. It's 2 minutes long. It's about the audience asked me to make this film, and this is the topic. It's got this unfinished look to it, but it's, you know, it's quite fully animated. You can see it's quite nicely done. So the whole thing is documented over 56 live streams. That's the longest thing I've made on my own with no... I've made other things full color, like my little red. I'm storyboarding an animatic at the moment. I've got a very advanced piece of dialogue that's around 30 seconds. But that's the longest one. If AI animation is crap, or at least not as really far enough, what kind of path you suggest to be really competent? Hand-drawn animation. That's why you're watching me. If you want to be competent, AI isn't crap. AI is good for the... You look, if you're watching my channel, you're obviously interested, or maybe you're just exploring animation. So what I do is hand-drawn animation, where artists draw one frame at a time. We're skilled, we have the power to draw, we are versed in classical art training, we train ourselves. I'm training people in that with my library. But animation is now available for anybody. Anybody, a child can produce Pixar grade animation by looking into their smartphone with Snapchat, and you've got stuff that looks better than Andy from Toy Story 2. You can now recreate animation better than that simply by looking at the camera with your iPhone. So it's accessible for anybody. For anybody, this kind of Pixar, easy peasy, computerized, silly stuff is now easily done. So you can go create content, become big on social media without the worry of having to draw or do that if you want to do that. But what my channel is about, why I keep calling AI crap, AI is not crap. AI is great for somebody perhaps like you, I could be wrong, who wants to make it big on social media and have that Hollywood Pixar look, that, you know, that computerized look. You know, in the next few years it's going to be perfect. Right now it's still a bit ropey, but it's going to be perfect. All these CG Pixar boys are going to be out of a job, you know. And you know, I'm sounding happy because at the end of the day they can't draw. I want to see hand-drawn animation. That's what interests me. So I don't care about them, quite frankly. I care about their lives. I care about, you know, but they can retrain. They can get other jobs, but I really don't care about their animation because it's, to me, it's not really anything special. It's something anybody can do now, thanks to AI. Amazing. So AI is there for people that want to do that. So AI might be for you. So it might not be crap for you, but why I keep calling it all crap is because this channel, if you notice the R in the background, it represents what I call real animator training. People who draw and animate every frame at the time, unique to them. You can't type it in an AI and rely on an external source to give you something that, because you're so unartistic and unskilled and you don't know any better, you just say, haha, yes, 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 that's what I want. No, that's not for real art. Real artists, we see what's in our mind's eye, unique expression, we draw it, it's ours. Nobody else owns it. AI can copy it, but I'm drawing thousands more. I'm drawing thousands more coming from the secret power of my uniqueness and my brain coming into my hand to draw. That's what real artists do. And so that's the kind of animation that I teach, that I do, and that I celebrate, which is why I'm loving AI, because it's getting rid of all the people that don't do that, and it's opening the doors for everyone. You know, it's a very inclusive. Everybody wants to talk inclusivity. Well, I'm inclusive. Now anybody can be an animator and animate at the highest Pixar level thanks to AI, and I love it. Amazing. But let the real artists do the real animation. That's all I'm saying. I studied arts at Bournemouth Uni, walked away with it. Yes, I remember that. I want to continuously improve my craft, and I think you're my next step. Thank you very much. I was looking for the real deal. Bournemouth is the best course, but if you must do it at uni, your uni nowadays is skill. It's what's required, and the right mentor. My pleasure, Mustafa. Really thankful to see a master like Amy animate graphic Cartoon Network characters with such depth. Well, there you go, Mr. Leon. If you worked your way through that basics archive and you learned about the figure of eight arts and you learned about the staggering of body parts and all those kind of things and the laws of animation, the 6 laws of movement, the 6 laws of life, you could apply that to your Cartoon Network rigs. Mr. Leon's a professional. He's the guy that worked on Ninja Turtles. He's the guy that worked on for Disney, right? So you could seriously apply that stuff and your work, bang, will be looking 10,000 times better than all of your co-workers who just know a little bit. You know, they'll do a little twirl and everybody will go, oh, isn't it amazing? Mr. Librarian, this is not animation. This is some kind of arcane witchcraft that you are mastering, a little toy. Thanks for this little bite of real art. My pleasure. I like that. I'll take that. Look, I really appreciate that you guys that are watching me seem to understand me, and you seem to understand my attitude. Some people are going to find the things I say hurtful, and they're going to not understand what I'm trying to say. They're going to think that I'm just downing people who are losing their jobs and they're not whatever. But you got to look at the story as a whole. It's like you've come into a movie and you've come into the last part and you're feeling sorry for not necessarily the bad guys, but you're just feeling sorry for one side without actually understanding the journey of this thing. Like animation. Do I like the animation in Bambi? Bambi is possibly one of the greatest examples of character animation that ever existed. Just look at the little nuances that happen in that film. Look at the character Thumper before he's about to talk. Look at the internal mental acting of the character before he says something. Look at how he struggles as a child to get his words out. And his nose then twitches after a few words and a little blink to the side. That is real acting. Not some, here, yeah, man, yeah, a little head wiggle, a little look to the side, a little gesture with the hands here, a bounce away, a little this, a little shrug of the shoulders, a little hands on the hips with a head shake, a little like sigh with a head shake, and the look inside. All this recorded, pre-recorded movements that animators do interchangeable now in today's CG Pixar movies. Absolute trash. Completely interchangeable, not unique to any character. Every character acts the same. Go watch them. I challenge you. Then tell me if I'm wrong. Every character throws the same performance. Doesn't matter who they are, how old they are, what they are. They all do the same thing. They all then freak out and wig out with that. It's just like that's become animation acting now. That's what people tend to want to see in animation when they go to the cinema now, because it's like, as I said, you could be living in a house full of dog shit, but if they're your dogs and you're messy and you don't clean up, you get used to the smell. Nobody else can come in there, but you get used to the smell. That's what animation acting is like in all these modern films. I saw the trailer for Inside Out 2. I said, I'm going to watch the trailer. I'm not going to turn off the trailer. But within seconds, I saw the acting of the little, I just said, fuck off. I just couldn't take it. I just couldn't take it. I couldn't even sit through the trailer. Same, you see, I could get a Snapchat filter and do that, right? And it'll look just like that now. You know, you look at the old films, you look at Lady and the Tramp, you look at Bambi, you look at Robin Hood, you look at Sword in the Stone. My God. You know, everybody likes to moan that like Milk Carl always does his head bob. Listen, he's one animator, he's one actor. If that's his thing, you could say I like Robin Williams because Robin Williams has certain nuances, right? This his right to have his nuances. But when every actor, every performance is doing the same thing, this kind of effeminate guy with the little kind of body, and then suddenly he'll freak out and bust his chest out with his eyes bulging and breathe heavily and have his hand up there with his other hand on his hip, and then his head will circle like that. This bullshit generic acting that I see in every modern animation. Somebody said to me earlier, what new animation do I like? This is why I can't take it. This is why I can't take it. It's all trash. And I'm happy that I'm witnessing the demise of it. Well, not necessarily the demise of it. The mainstream like it. But AI will be able to do that. What do I think of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse? Listen, I can't think much of it because I haven't even bothered to watch it. I look at all that little cartoon Spider-Man thing and I look at all that and I just say, that ain't Spider-Man to me, sorry. I'm not interested. And I know people who've worked on it. Before he became huge, I worked with the art director, Alberto. I forgot his surname. He's huge now. He's gone to the very top. He was younger than me, super talent. Some amazing people work on these films. I've met them, I've worked with them, but I'm sorry, you know, it's ignorant to believe that everybody working on these films is useless. That's not the case. But if the end product is trash, I ain't got that kind of time to sit there and filter through. I'll maybe look at the art off book and look at Alberto's concept art and go, yeah, amazing, brilliant. Pity the film didn't look like that. You know, I have no interest in it. It's so funny because when I started doing my channel, you'll see me praising the Western animation because I came from a classical Disney background and talking about how inferior anime and Japanese animation is. And now Western animation has come down to such a depth that I now if I find myself looking at anything today that has got any class, it'll be the Japanese stuff. 100%, 10,000 times better. They have not lost it. They have not lost it. Miyazaki's still producing films like Boy and the Heron. I haven't seen it in all honesty, but from what I've seen of it, it looks like it's still got its class. It may be a difficult story or people. It looks like the same class he's always put out. The US, UK, it's completely lost it all. Just lost it. Not in the slightest interested. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. No, thank you. That's what I thought about it. Shall I watch it? Shall I not watch it? No, thank you. I made my mind up there. Got to remember, I don't care about watching stories, right? A lot of you guys want to watch a good story. You watch the stuff, you want to see a good story. Batman the Animated Series is much like Samurai Jack. Great design, great ideas, very poorly executed. Not musically, not storyboard wise, but the animation is, I would like to see Batman the Animated Series animated with a feature budget. Not like Master of the Phantasm, which is just a couple of TV episodes strung together. Proper animation. That thing has got the potential to be absolutely amazing. I love it. I own every episode of the original series. I refuse to watch this new thing that he's made because I don't like the tampering with it. But I think, again, what lets it down is the getting farmed out to studios in the East with a very low budget. And being executed, the execution is unfortunately stops it from reaching the heights it deserves to be at. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, what I love about Batman the Animated Series is it almost feels like 50s American television, and I love 50s. I love 50s, 60s, The Fugitive, Rawhide, Kung Fu. Quincy, Columbo, that's a bit more in the 60s, but those big bulb 50s shows, Bonanza, detective shows, it feels like those. And potentially great, but just a sloppy animation. It was really high level for the time compared because of the simple designs meant that they could move it, but it's just it's a little sloppy. But I forgive it that. It doesn't mean I can't watch it. I do watch a lot of badly animated things if I see other potential in there. If I see other things in there that I think, okay, the graphic design, the art direction, like the Batman, this is also great. I'm going to invest my time in it. But I'm not interested in watching movies to be told a story. I don't have time for that. I need to be telling my own stories. If I watch something for the story, it's because my wife wants to watch something and I need to be a good husband and be a family man and spend time and engage with that stuff and all that. Otherwise, I don't have time to waste. I'm in my 50s, I need to be making my own stories. I read philosophy, I read deep stories like literature from the past, I read novels. I don't even read them anymore, to be honest. I just read philosophy. I read interpretations of religious texts, how they go around, because that's where stories come from. At the end of the day, stories all come from those. So all of these things that are in these modern things are so primitive because of people's attention spans that even the storytelling is not worth anything. It's taking these old ideas from old philosophies and old stories like Homer, Plato, even the Bible, or creation story, a lot of it from early Gnostic ideology. A lot of these things are taken from there, and they're just touching on the surface level. My wife wanted to watch a show called Manifest. It was just touching on Gnosticism at a very surface level, very, very surface. So if you read, if you're well versed in that stuff, you just watch the stuff of today, and it's banal. It's just absolutely banal. So I don't want to be told a story. So if I'm going to give my time to anything, then it has to have something more of merit. And today's animation, particularly produced by the West, no, not for me. I've been doing a lot of deep dives into Ghibli films, and animation is exactly the quality you mentioned. It's all hand-drawn. Have you seen, or do you have an opinion of French animation? The Gobelin Short Students films, what I have seen of them are quite nice, actually. They are nice. I have praise for them. I haven't seen that many, but the ones that I have seen over the years, I can't think of any right now, but whenever I've seen them, I've been very impressed. And I salute them. I think they are nice. They are done by people who are interested in art and interested in expressing some interesting art, and they're good collaborations. They get background people, animators, and they make good work. They do good work there. French animated films themselves, I think Sylvain Chameau himself is highly overrated. Not a fan. But French animators are, of course, extremely good. French, I lived in London. I was born and raised in England, and I lived in London for the most of my life. I've recently come to New Zealand. France is a neighbouring country. A lot of the talent in England was from France. The Brizzy brothers at Disney were, of course, French. Disney Paris was where they tried to open an animation studio in England. They made DuckTales the movie. The British animators were hacks. A lot of them were my friends, but I'm not ashamed. I'm not going to pull any punches here. They were hacks who could not do that type of animation. They were very shift and tracey. They were used to this TVC style of shift and trace. TVC was a company in England. There were some good animators in England after all, but no, there were some great animators, but a lot of them were from other European countries. You had Uli Maurer from Germany. You had Simonetti from Italy. You had Oscar Grillo. Richard Williams, of course, was from Canada. So Britain was a melting pot for a lot of great animators from all over the world to come, and there was a lot of those who stuck to 2D in England, like me, and surrounded yourself with those guys. You were going to get good, but a lot of people were just doing jobbing stuff for commercials. A lot of commercials were done in England, so quick, easy shit 2D was done. A lot of the stop motion puppets in England was outstanding. That was a strong point. But the French were vastly superior. But as for Sylvain Chameau, Belleville Rendezvous, just overrated. Not a fan. But at least he's a champion of hand-drawn animation, and I respect and salute him for that. There are good-looking movies, but the best animation. Exactly, a lot of the movies that people think are good-looking movies, it's just because everything now is done with low lighting and trying to copy live-action sensibilities, and a lot of these sets are built in CG and then turned into digital paintings, and they're lit in a certain way, like modern digital painting, and people think, wow, what great art in the animation. That's not what I consider to be great animation art. Somebody could look at 101 Dalmatians and think it looks primitive background-wise in comparison to this cheap, easy shit, digital shit that's being churned out that just looks like, bad live-action film wannabe copycat stuff. But that's what the average Joe likes. That's what the juvenile thinks is great drawing. That's why we get a lot of people that think that today's animation looks great when it's just the overall composition, which just looks like a digital painting, which AI will piss out in a couple of farts. So it's not hard to do. You want to do that, you can now do that with AI. Anime outside of Ghibli is all about stories. No, well, that's not true. I mean, for me, as much as I love Ghibli, I have not seen anything done by Ghibli that touches Katsuhiro Otomo's both Akira or Steam Boy. Steam Boy is one of the most underrated, but I don't care. The fact that it's underrated makes me feel more elite about it. It's just one of the greatest examples. I mean, the production design, the imagination, everything about that is just so good. Of course, you had Rintaro's Metropolis, which I think is got a lot more advanced stuff than Studio Ghibli. I like Studio Ghibli, but for animation, Studio Ghibli is quite low level. The reason I like Studio Ghibli is because of the world building. Anybody who thinks I don't like it or I'm bitching on it, I've got their stuff right here, right? I love it. I respect it. I draw from it. But it is what it is. Animation wise, you look at Spirited Away, you look at this emotional scene, you see this big fat tear coming down her eye. That ain't how you make someone cry and get an audience involved. In fact, people that aren't invested in it will just laugh. So Studio Ghibli is not really strong on the animation. It's strong on everything else though. It's not necessarily weak on the animation either though. Let me emphasize that. It is good animation to average. It does what it needs to do. But it's in no way to the level of some of the stuff I've seen in Steam Boy, and there are some scenes in the original Ghost in the Shell. Like there's a scene where they're looking for the guy who's wearing a jacket that makes him invisible in a busy marketplace. Not only is the staging of that almost untouchable, it's perfect. You really feel like you're there in the marketplace. You don't even think you're watching live action. You're watching an animated film and you feel like you're in that world. To call it like you forget it's animation is an insult to animation. It's one of the most perfect pieces of staging I've ever seen. Then the guy's starting running and it's all quiet, and then the woman starts beating him up in her invisibility suit, and he's getting beaten up, and the animation and everything of all that is just so perfect. Just spot on. There's elements of Ghost in the Shell. A lot of the film is just talking heads, one drawing moving. It's cheap, but I love it because there's just elements in that film that are just flawless and unequaled by any other anime, or for what they're going for. Not even Disney, because Disney doesn't do that kind of stuff. So the good Disney. When I say Disney, I mean Walt Disney, the proper like 9 old men. So I've got to give props. I've got to give props to things like that. I've not seen the Wind Rises, but I've seen the Grave of the Fireflies. Grave of the Fireflies is absolutely amazing. Yeah, Sergio Leone is exactly where it's at. Okay, we have now almost hit the 4-hour mark. Stage Line has just appeared, and I'm gonna be going now. Stage Line, it's 4 hours. Thank you so much to everybody for joining me on the stream. The next stream I shall be doing is a return to the lecture series, part 11 of the how to storyboard your own animated intro that I'm building for the professional archive. Thank you so much for joining me on this stream. It's going to be staying up, and I shall see you all on the next one. Bye-bye. Oh, keep it real. For those who are about to draw, I salute you, and paper is king. I'm not going to say the poem. Just do your work, okay?